All right, if you are there, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the first Halloween stream. For those of you that are regulars, you know it takes me a minute to get set up, so I've got to set stuff up here real quick. And I really can't do it until it is live. Unfortunately, just some of the adjustments I have to make live. So let's get this all set up. And as I said, it is costume optional today. And we have a few people here. And we've already got people waiting. 4 people. That is awesome to already have 4 people. And I haven't even, just when I start. That's great. That is cool. And if you're wanting to get in and you're here, but you're not really sure, one thing is if you have Zoom, in the description, I have the Zoom meeting ID and the password. And so give me 1 more or 2 more minutes here while I get myself together. And then I will be ready to start. And for those of you that are curious, and I will put that down too, I have created a new Discord. And let me do that while I'm here and getting set up. Let me put a new Discord link in the description as well. So I might as well have that there too. Let's see. Copy. And then I'll put that here. New Discord link. And that is there as well. And I don't know, there's maybe about 25 people there so far. And I have to wear glasses because I need reading glasses. So luckily I had these things that are kind of old and will fit. So otherwise everybody's name will be a blur on the screen for me. And I would say happy Halloween, but I guess it's officially not happy Halloween yet. I'll have to tell you guys tomorrow. All right, I'm almost finished. I'm almost set up. I'm just about there. All right, 64 people here. Great. All right, scary, laugh, happy Dia de los Muertos. Yes, happy about that. We celebrate that down here. And Caroline, hello. What got you first into NDEs? I don't know. I was interested into it many years ago when I heard about it, and I have never had one myself. Let me say one last thing. Okay, so I think we're good to go. I think we are ready. We are ready. And I don't know who is first. That is the problem. I've got 5 people. Now, if you're waiting and you're watching, please don't go. And whoever was first, I apologize because I don't know. There were people, I think, waiting here before I even started. So I don't know about that. And I got a big announcement that I think you guys will be excited to hear about too. So let's just start here, I guess, with Donna. So we'll start on the top and go from there. It's always weird for me in the beginning when I don't have anybody, I don't hear anybody. I'm just by myself, you know? It says joining. We'll see if she's going to be able to make it. And what'll be cool is to see if you guys actually pop in with a costume. Joining. Is she going to make it? I'm not sure. My wife, unfortunately, will not be joining on camera. She's not been feeling well. I guess she's kind of got like a cold, but she is here, and she'll be in the chat. Can you get me a Topo Chico? And maybe she'll get me a mineral water. London. I am in London too. Let's see. All right, maybe she's having problems. So what I'm going to do... She's in twice. That's weird. And she's not joined. So let me see if I can add somebody else. Let's go from the bottom then. Let's see what happens and see if Wanda can make it. And since it's Halloween, as I've been saying, you don't have to have spooky stories, okay? But if you have one, I think it will be better. Okay, I think Wanda's going to make it. It'll be more fun if we have spooky stories. I know it's NDEs and there's a lot of positivity and you know, inspiring stories, but I thought for Halloween we'd have a little bit of fun and do something different. And we'll see if Wanda can make it in. Hopefully she will. The name sounds familiar. Ask to start video. We'll try that again and see if we can help her along. So once again, if you were curious about joining the Discord where you can chat with other people of like minds, I put the link in there. You can hang out with other people. I kind of pop in from time to time, although I'm not there that often. You can post stuff. Okay, Wanda's having trouble too, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to put her back into the waiting room. And let's go with Steven. We'll see if he can get in. I hope it's not something funky with Zoom tonight. Okay, we got his voice. Here he is. Steven, like the costume. How
Hi,
are
Jeff.
you?
Like yours too. How are you?
Thank you. Great. How are you?
Good. Good to be here.
So what do you got that's spooky or scary for us?
Okay, so I don't have an NDE, but I have 2 STEs.
Mm-hmm.
So spiritually transformative experiences.
Yes, let's hear it.
Pretty cool. So the first one happened about 6 years ago. I was at the time I was living at home and at my friend Henry's house. And one day I was at his house and I started feeling this energy. The best way I can describe it. I'd never felt anything like this before, but it was like this just weird feeling that I was getting. And the energy would kind of come and then it would like go away and I'd come back. And then I started getting the idea that this might be like some kind of entity in the room with me. So I went to sleep that night, woke up the next day, and I started feeling the energy again. And I asked it, I started communicating with it. I asked it, if you want me to leave, move this pencil on the table. And literally right after I asked it to do that, the pencil kind of shifted positions a little bit. And that freaked me out enough to leave Henry's apartment and I went back to my parents' house. So I went back home and that night I started feeling the energy again. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this energy followed me. So I stayed up that night. I couldn't really fall asleep. I was kind of scared, but I started feeling the energy. I tried to like scare it away, like by actually playing like religious music on my phone. I don't know. I like got some idea that maybe that would scare it away or whatever. So I started playing like hymns and things. And what happened was the energy would come and then the video would like stop playing, and then the energy would leave and it would start playing again, and then the energy would come back and would stop playing.
Wow.
And that happened several times. And then at one point the energy came and it started getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, like exponential increase. And I was getting like really scared at this point. My heart was racing. And then in front of me, about 5 feet away, a split second, appeared this demonic figure. It was like black and red in color, had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. And yeah, I just got this overwhelming like negative feeling from it. So yeah, it appeared, disappeared, and then the energy kept coming towards me, and then it like I heard like an exhale in my face, kind of like a bull about to charge, like an angry exhale. And then at that point, I like yelled at it. I said, "Get out of my house!" at the top of my lungs. And then the energy kind of receded, and it backed off. And then I saw like a pretty cool thing. I saw like an orb appear in the corner of the room. It was like about the size of like a soccer ball. It was white. It appeared and then it kind of slowly faded away. And that was my first experience.
Now, when you said that you felt the energy, what did it feel like?
It's hard to like describe because I don't really know like another feeling that's like the same thing, and I still occasionally get this feeling like even to this day. But it's a hard feeling to describe. I really don't have something to compare it to.
What
Kind of like the shivers, but not exactly either.
So you didn't feel like it was something touching you on the shoulder or something like that?
No, I'd say it's like a sensation, like a sense. I mean, I guess like a sixth sense. I don't know, but yeah.
Right. What do you think it was?
Good question. After this happened, I started getting deep into reading and researching NDEs and things, and sometimes you'll come across the hellish and scary type NDEs where they see these demonic entities. So I don't know if it was like I really don't know, but it was scary, whatever it was, and yeah.
I think it's pretty interesting that all you had to do was to tell it to leave and it listened.
Yeah, like I had to yell at it, but yeah, it did seem to back off after I yelled at it.
And I think there's some kind of like universal law, like if you just tell entities to go away, or if they want to do something to you and you say no, they have to abide by that.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
All right, what happened the second time?
All right, so the second experience happened about 6 months later. So this experience, basically, one night I was going to work at a hospital. I was working as a sitter at the time. And I got to the hospital. It was pretty late, maybe around 11 o'clock. And I was sitting in the lobby waiting for my shift to start. And the lobby was completely deserted at the time. So as I was sitting there, it was like a question came to my mind. And the question that first came to my mind was, what should you do in any given situation? And I just thought an answer. I just responded like non-verbally. I just thought, you should do the will of God, which kind of makes sense because this was after the first experience and I kind of was thinking a lot about spiritual and religious things at the time. So yeah. And then another question came to me and it was like, what if you don't know what the will of God is? Again, I just thought something non-verbally. I said, you should do whatever you think will do the most good for the world. And then right after that, out of nowhere, seemingly, this older African-American man walked up to me and he looked me in the eyes and he said, do you know how many thousands of people don't do that? They always see something wrong in doing what's right. And then he walked away.
He just kind of appeared out of nowhere.
I mean, I wasn't like really looking around, so he could have came from the side or so, yeah, he did just kind of come out of nowhere.
Mm.
And then he walked away into nowhere because I didn't really follow him or anything. I was just sitting there kind of stunned in that moment because what just happened was just, I guess, so unbelievable to me. And
Were you thinking these thoughts or saying this out loud?
thinking it, I did not say anything out loud.
Yeah.
Which for me was always interesting after I started researching NDEs and how they always say like communication on the other side is quote unquote telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, well, I kind of had this experience, but I wasn't having an NDE.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's possible that you're some type of medium?
I have no idea. Maybe.
Have you ever connected with spirits besides those two?
The only other thing I would say is sometimes I've had like dream visitations from people who have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So one time my grandmother came to me in a dream after she passed away, and she kind of appeared like surrounded by golden light, and she looked pretty angelic. And then another time, one of my uncles came to me in a dream as well.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I appreciate you coming, and I have to move along to the next one, but I don't think you've been on before, so I'm glad you were willing to come on. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, take care. Happy Halloween.
You too.
Thank you. All right, that was our first one. Two stories. So let's see if we can go back to Donna now. We tried to get Donna in earlier, I believe, and it wasn't working out. And there was one thing I remembered I needed to do, and I just forgot again. There was something that I needed to set up. And I can't remember what that was. Oh, I think I remember now. While we're waiting for Donna, I put this on the Facebook page, and if you guys didn't know, I have a Facebook page for the podcast. And if you ever want to reach out to me, that's probably the best way to contact me is from that. Sometimes people will, either want to be a guest or they'll go there and they will say, hey, I know somebody, could you please get him as a guest, And now I remember actually one other thing I wanted to do, and that was this. I wanted to rename this podcast the Halloween live stream. Let me add that ALOWEEN. Is that right? Or is there two L's? I think there's two L's or two W's. Halloween. Someone type in the chat. How do you spell Halloween? HALLO. It's two L's. That's it. All right. Two L's. One last one. And I don't think Donna's going to make it. All right. So let's see. Donna. Oh, she's here. But she's still having problems again. She's probably a maybe, well, not probably maybe, but she's probably another first-time Zoomer with us. So we'll see if she can make it in or not. Can I raise the volume? Maybe I'll come look closer to the mic if that's better. The sound just came on. All right. Well, I'm going to put you back in the holding position, and I'm going to go to the next one, Donna, and hopefully you can figure it out. Let's go back to Wanda. We tried to get Wanda in before, too. And we'll see if Wanda will make it. Is this better, by the way? Oh, Wanda's halfway there. It looks like. Asked to start video. That's better. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl. She's almost here. Maybe it's just going to be a black screen. Either that or she has... There she is. Now we just need sound. Connecting. All right. Looks like we're going to make it. Maybe I shouldn't have turned that off yet so we can see. Wanda, can you hear us? It shows right here is her little microphone. Oh no, she's gone. Maybe it crashed. All right, let's go to joyforbalance.com and see who this is. Ask to start video. And I want to adjust that just a little. There we go. It would be cool if I could like have some background music pumped in. But I'm not really sure how I could always keep background music going at the same time. And I'd have to kind of, mix that in. Joy will start the video later. Okay. That maybe she's having problems. That looks like a message. All right, so let me put her back in the waiting room and we'll go to Kristen. And see how that works out. 159 people. Great. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I thought I heard something for a second. That is the only crazy thing about doing it this way. If it was like a radio show, you could just have immediately, pick up the phone and you're on the air. But this is a little bit more time consuming when you go by video. Oh, no background music, too distracting. Okay, all you got is a ski mask. That's okay. More movement and sound, please. That's strange. More movement and sound. I hear somebody. Very kind of light. You have to use the copyright free. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Or I could use, maybe YouTube has an audio library and I could put that on. But I use a program called Streamlabs, which is a free program. And actually it's called Streamlabs OBS. So if you guys ever want to stream, I think you can do it directly from your phone if you want to stream on YouTube. But if you want to do it from your computer, you've got to use something that helps you stream. And I'm sure you could do, well, I'm not sure, but I feel like you could probably do something and kind of mix the music in, but then I'd need like some kind of mixer and somebody listening to it all the time. It would be a bigger operation. I'm not sure what's going on, Kirsten. I'm going to put you back in the waiting room and go for somebody else. But you're still here. Just hoping that you can get it working. We'll see. Ask to unmute. Ask to start video. Ask to unmute. There's a bunch of people in the waiting room, so I'll just kind of keep it flowing until somebody's system will work. It looks like we got it. Mike's almost there.
I know, I'm not Mike.
Oh, yes, you're not Mike. Who are you?
I'm going to get in trouble for having his name on here.
That's okay. Who
I'm
are
Stephanie.
you? Stephanie, hi, and where are you from?
Hi, I am in Watsonville, California.
Oh, cool. I wasn't really sure because it's daylight over there.
Yeah, you're in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm. And I guess I can't see out the window, but it
you're
may
on
be
the
dark
moon
here.
I love your show. So
Well, thank you so much. So, what kind of story you got to share with us tonight?
I have some really spooky stories. So I can tell you that. And I also have an NDE, but I
You
think because it's the Halloween show,
Yeah, we need to save that.
you want
We
the
need to save that till
for-
next week.
Yeah.
Well, did you have a big blown out NDE like you saw beings and family members and a pretty big, because you may be even good enough for an entire show.
Well, actually, so no, actually, it wasn't an NDE because I didn't die.
Okay.
So, but I did leave my body, see the light, see some beings, and that kind of thing. So,
Well, let me just ask you this: how did you leave your body?
I just laid down on my bed after work. I was tired, and the next thing I knew, I was being like pulled out of my body extremely fast. And I was just all of a sudden in the light.
Wow.
Yeah. I did, when I was leaving, kind of look down and see my body.
All right. Well, I don't want to get into it too heavy, but I just am curious about one more question. Who pulled you out?
I don't know who pulled me out. I believe, eventually I was with God. So
Oh, I'm just curious because you used the word you were pulled out of your body, so I just assumed
that's what it felt like.
Somebody pulled you out.
Yeah, that I could see why you would say that. Yeah, it felt like that. It felt like it was just because I didn't do it on my own accord.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, that would be, come back next Saturday and let's talk about that.
Okay.
All right. So what do you got that's spooky for us?
Well, so I moved into a new house in San Jose, California. I guess that was about 10 years ago. I've moved since then. And the house ended up being haunted. My family and I experienced quite a few things. When we first moved in, we started renovating the house, and it got to a point where my children started telling me, they were young, they were like 3 and 5, and they started telling me that at night they were seeing things. And I would ask them, well, what did you see? And they would say, well, it was just this dark thing over my bed.
Okay.
And then one night they started screaming, and I went into their room, and my older one said, "Mommy, mommy, the monster was here." And my younger one said, "Mommy, mommy, he scratched me." And I said, "Oh my God, he scratched you?" And she said, "Yeah." She pulled up her shirt and she had a big scratch on her stomach.
Wow.
And I said, what did he look like? And she said, I'm saying he, but it was more of an it. She said he was a dark figure. He had long arms and he had red eyes and no mouth. And so that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
And it just happened at the same time as this was going on. I started a new job working with the exorcist for the Diocese of San Jose. And I was just like his graphic designer. I wasn't like working with him. But I went to him and I said, this is what's happening in the house. And so he said, well, I can come and bless your house because, that's a very common thing for Catholics to do. So I come bless your house. We'll see what's going on. So in the meantime, like when the house was empty and it was just me at home, I would be cleaning and I'd walk into a room and there's this one toy that kept going off. And it was one of those dolls that talked.
Oh,
and
wow. That sounds like a movie.
It's so creepy. So it would say, I would walk in and it would be like, "I love you. You're my best friend," and I was like, okay, well, it's a good message, but that's really creepy. And it happened more than one, and it shouldn't have. It was like hadn't been working for years, you know, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it's happening. So that happened. And then one day I woke up and literally all the curtains in the house had been pulled out of the wall. And I had attached some of the curtains with like those drywall screws that are giant that can hold anything. They were out of they literally pulled a hole about this big out of the wall.
Yeah, I know those. Yeah.
So things like that were happening.
So it sounded like the blessing of the house didn't help.
No, it helped. So what happened when we had the house blessed, it helped for a little while. But then things would start occurring again. And one day I was in Mass and a woman came to me. I only had seen her at Mass. I didn't know her. And she said to me, Stephanie, I know that, no, she was saying, like, Stephanie, God talks to me, Jesus talks to me. And he's telling me to tell you that you need protection.
Wow.
And here's some blessed salt. I mean, like literally during Mass, she just like handed me some blessed salt. And she's like, do you know what to do with this? And I was a new Catholic actually. So I was like, no, I don't know what blessed salt is. And she's like, you put it around your house and, you know, it helps so that dark energy can't come into your house. And so I was okay, I'll do that. So it went on for years, actually. We were there for, how long were we there? I don't know, like almost 10 years. And it just, all these kind of things kept going on. We heard a voice in the hall. My husband and I were talking, and all of a sudden we heard this voice say, ha ha ha, Mike, this laugh.
Wow.
And I had dreams that were very demonic, where I was, there was one where it was so vivid to me. I was in a basement, and in the basement was a big hall, and there were doors. And I went to one of the doors, and I opened the door, and there were these demons in the room, and they had my son.
You saw them?
Yeah.
What did they look like?
They were kind of like, I would say grayish black, and they had like a body, but it was like almost like melted looking and kind of streaky, and they had these mouths that were like kind of open and also streaky. So it was like almost a melted look. And
did they look solid or kind of translucent?
Solid. Yeah, super solid. And in the dream, one of them grabbed my wrist, and it hurt incredibly bad. And when I woke up, I could still feel it. I felt it for like half the day. Wow. It felt like I got my wrist sprained.
I hope I can remember that, because I have a dream expert scheduled to come on in November. I hope I can remember that and talk to her about that. That would be real interesting.
Yeah. So eventually, well, we had him, the exorcist, come back, and he did actually exorcise the house. He brought me in, and they don't just exorcise you. They go through a whole, like, you have to see a psychiatrist, you have to make sure, you know, so like I wasn't on that level of care, basically.
Right.
I was seen by his team, and they did a blessing, and that actually also helped immensely.
Okay.
So eventually we just moved out of the house. But, let me tell you. So before that happened, I was out in the yard, and this woman drove up, and she got out of her car, and she just looked at my house. And I was watching. I said, you know, is there something I can do to help you? And she said, you know, I grew up in this neighborhood. And she had tears in her eyes. And she said, do you know that there's a bomb shelter in your backyard?
Ooh.
And I said, no. Our backyard was just cement. And she said, yeah. And then I said, do you want to come and see the house? Do you want to come and see? And she was like, no, 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 no. And I had the feeling, you know, very strongly that something bad had happened to her there. I didn't ask. She left. But it was, after that, I mean, I was pretty ready to move.
Yeah. I wish you could have asked her, where's the door?
I kind of, you know, afterward I went back to the backyard, and there the pavement was very patchy in a certain area. So I thought, well, maybe that's where it was. It looks like it had been patched up. So
yeah, maybe
we didn't dig it out or anything.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you had like a sledgehammer or something, you could, or a pick, you could kind of break the concrete.
I know. I'm so curious now. I mean, I've done a little research. I can't find out anything, but yeah. So that's my spooky.
Well, Stephanie, thanks for coming and sharing that with us. I really appreciate you, and I hope you come back next Saturday and tell us about your NDE.
Okay, I will. Thanks.
All right,
Jeff.
thanks for joining us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So when she was saying exorcist, I was thinking about this, remembering that I had an exorcist on the program once before. I think his name is Billy Bean. And he is an exorcist that's been on TV and stuff. So, but it didn't do very well. You know, people weren't that interested in. But it was quite a long time ago, and maybe my audience wasn't wide enough yet. But if you're interested in exorcisms, go check that out. And if you're interested in exorcisms, go check out the one with Billy Bean. If I had it right at my hands, maybe when I get a next chance, I'll tell you what the title is if you want to know. All right, so let's see what, who haven't we've tried these people to get in. Let's try Joe. And then we'll circle back through the people we haven't been able to get in so far. Please get the exorcist back, he says. Well, as I previously said, not many people watched it. So maybe if I see the views go up on it, then I'll know that you guys want to watch more exorcists. And let's ask to start his video and ask to unmute. And it's interesting. This is like a rubber, and it's making my face start to sweat. It's hot. Hotter than I expected it to be. Like, it's a little bit rough on the inside. I have to keep adjusting it. All right, so let's see what's going on in the chat while we're waiting here. Please get back The Exorcist. I need one. I watched it. All right. Billy Bean, is that correct? I'm pretty sure. Yes. Yep. That house would have scared me. Probably would have scared me too, to tell you honestly. We'll start video later. That's the second person that told me that. I'm not really sure what that means. Let's try this. Let's go back and circle back to Donna and see if Donna is ready. And see if she'll be able to join. And Typo, thank you very much for that super thanks. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if you saw that, Typo. I've recreated a new Discord, and the new Discord link is in the description of this video. All right. It says joining, but we don't know yet if she's going to be able to do it this time or not. And thank you, Typo. I'm glad you like the costume. Just take it off. I might switch masks. I have other masks. I might put on a Fortnite mask. And probably no one in this room knows what Fortnite is unless you've got kids. Because that's a video game that kids like to play, and they all wear It's interesting. In the game, they call them skins. It's kind of interesting, but if instead of characters, it's skin. The kids will say, well, what skin is your character using? And he's got the Banana Man skin. Or, you know, whatever skin. A few Aussies here today. Great. All right, so Donna is still having trouble. Let's try Kirsten again. So I'm still saying Jordan. Otherwise, we've got spaces open, and I've only had one costume tonight so far. Be curious to see what other costumes people have. Ask to start video. I hear something. Maybe she will make it. I thought you would dress up as Gabriel, Michael, or Moloch, one of the archangels. You know, I just went to the Halloween store. I don't know if you guys have them where you are. They call them Halloween Spirit, and they kind of like pop up in September, and they go through like the day after Halloween. So I just wanted to try to find something with a mask that had open mouth, and I just kind of browsed through there, and I thought, oh, this looks pretty cool. Looks, fun. And it was simple, just a mask, right? Because you only can see me from this from here up anyway, so there was no point to buy a whole costume, just a mask. Your grandson showed you all about skins in Fortnite, so see you know. Have they got you to play the game? Love it. I keep trying, but you can't get in. So Donna's having trouble. And we'll see what's Kirsten's going on with him. If not, we'll move on. I'm addicted to your channel. I can't stop watching NDEs. Well, thank you very much. Let's see. 200 people are here, so I will make the announcement that I recorded the podcast with Dr. Eben Alexander yesterday. It finally got done. I have it done. It needs to be edited, and I should be posting it on Monday. So I hope you guys will be excited about that. Now, it's going to be different because since you guys and most of the world already knows Dr. Alexander's NDE, there was kind of really no point of him retelling the NDE story over again. So what it was like a Q&A. And I can tell you one thing which I thought is amazing, and we talked about, is that there's two types of memory, short-term and long-term memory. And we were talking about long-term memory is not stored in the brain. It is stored in the astral, basically. And he was telling me that you can cut out any part of the brain and you will not affect long-term memory. So think about that. I think that's pretty amazing. All right, Kirsten, I'm going to put you back in holding. And bring on Lisa Smith. Oh, wait. I didn't want to do that. I was trying to put on... We'll try one more time. I accidentally clicked her name again. That was weird. Yeah, so think about that, guys. Yeah, we were kind of talking. Is it like... He didn't use the word Akashic Records. But let me try this again. Where is Lisa Smith? Admit. But if we would have got heavily into it, I think he called it some type of hologram. I don't remember the exact words he used, but it was like a hologram. And I was asking, is it, where is this? Is it stored in a group thing like the Akashic Records where everybody can kind of get access, or like your own personal higher self? Daniel Brinkley, I have tried to get him on. I want to get him on. I've just not been successful at that. I think that would be a great video. Maybe and this is the thing is we're growing as a channel. We're getting bigger. We're up to what, 23,000. I think that once we get to 100,000 people, we'll be able to get more guests on, and probably almost any guest we want, we should be able to get. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
All right. Thanks for joining me. I like your costume.
Thank you. I am such a fan of your show.
Thank you.
I've got to tell you, it's so great. And I kind of remember that old Coast to Coast that you always refer to. And it's just such a comforting thing. And I think you asked a guest one time, why they watch and what they get out of it. And, it is really so life affirming and positive, even though you would think that, oh God, we're all obsessed with ghosts and death, but it's really such an actually a positive message that you put out, and these people put out of, the universal thing is always love. And it's just so, I think, just so life affirming, and it condenses what's most important about living, because I think people that have had these experiences know more about what it is to be alive. Does that make any sort of sense?
I think that was terrific the way you said that. I couldn't have said it any better. But I think it's amazing what you said, that is knowing how to live life better.
Well, and I follow minimalist people. I try to be a minimalist and an essentialist. And it's part of that, of just like this life is so nutty, and you just get so much doesn't matter.
Right.
So much doesn't matter. The things we worry about, think about, and obsess over and react to, none of it matters. And I love your guests, and you have excellent questions, by the way. And
thank you.
What's so great about your show, and I watch it just about every night, is that you let people speak, and then you really actually are listening, because you ask very pertinent, direct, and informative questions. So you're doing great, and
well, thank you very much. And I
do have a story. I've some stories.
Well, let's get to it.
Okay. As several things have happened to me, but one that I think fellow viewers would like to hear is that I had this experience once years ago in the 80s. I was in line to get on The Price is Right.
Wow.
That show. I was married at the time. I had a mother-in-law who wanted to come see the show. All right. I rarely watch the show. I didn't know. So we're waiting in line, and you have to wait in line a long time. During that waiting process, I had a download of information, of just an absolute knowing that I'm going to be picked to go on that show.
Cool.
Absolute. And not a feeling of like, oh, yay. It was just like, oh, okay. I know what's going to happen here.
Did you get the prices included in the download?
Well, there's some story to that. So I'm standing in line with my mother-in-law, my husband at the time, and we're just like, I just start saying, well, I never played the games before. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, okay, you're not going to have to worry about it. And I said, seriously, when I go up there, I'm not going to know what to say or do. And they're like, well, just look at us. We'll tell you, they're like, she's insane. She thinks she's going to get picked out of all these people. Well, of course, long story short, I get picked. I'm the last name called. I walk up. And of course, when they say my name, Lisa Smith, I just go, yeah, I know. I'm not even like, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening. I was just like, yep. And I go up there. Now, so you ask, they wheel out a set of dishes. It was back in the day, Bob Barker was there,
Cool.
They wheel out a set of dishes. And when your guests always say, you hear a voice, it's not like in your ear. It's English. It's a voice. You just, but it's telepathic. You just know it. And message was $500. So I, of course, promptly like think that can't be right. So I say $4.95, Bob, $4.95. And then everyone does their thing. Of course, ding, 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 ding. I was the closest. The actual price was $500.
Oh, wow.
Right? It was in my brain. I go up there, I win a car and a boat, and I just win, I spin the wheel, 90 cents. I'm in the showcase showdown. I win everything. I win a trip to New Orleans. I win bars of gold. I win. And the best thing about that story for me is that I was given the information beforehand. To me, that is the most exciting part of that story. And then I asked myself, well, why that? Maybe it was to help me because I would have been too nervous otherwise. Why not help me in other things I have to do? I still don't know. But the feeling, and this is simply a guess or a feeling that I have, is that there was, the feeling I get is smiles and giddiness from the other side. Like it just seemed like, oh, won't this be fun? That's just the feeling I get.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it was a couple angels just kind of saying, okay, let's play along with this contestant and see and have a laugh.
And that's another question. And maybe that's why I watch your show and try to discern what is happening to me, because I feel like, is it my grandparents watching over me? Is it my father watching over me? Who is this? And I don't know who it is, but the way things of my life has gone, I feel guided. Mm-hmm. I would have to say. And my joke is always, I'm not smart enough to figure this life out like this. You know what I mean? It's gone pretty well. And I just feel like I'm guided, but I don't know by whom. And so I'm always like trying to listen. This is why I listen to your show and think to go, how do they find this stuff out? And do I even have to know? Someday I guess I will find out. But yeah, I try to connect. I sit here with this is a blanket that we used to call them Afghans. My grandmother knitted in the 70s. And I travel with this. I've had experiences where I've been steered away from certain death with head-on collisions and stuff. I've always had my blanket with me. I have a little light that I put on. It stayed on for about 2 years right now. And it was a lamp that was on my other grandmother's piano. And I took it out of storage and I put it in, and it wouldn't work. And I said to the lamp, I was dusting, and I said, well, I understand it. It's from the 50s. It's got to be, almost 100 years old. Oh my God. Okay. It's not going to work. And I was dusting it. And I said, if my grandparents, if one of you is looking over me, will you light that lamp up? And I just waited. I just dusted. Ding.
Wow.
It went on. It's been on for 2 years. There it is. There's my lamp.
Cool.
It's been on for 2 years.
You mean you have not turned you have not turned it off for 2 years?
No, I use it as it's a little tiny lamp. So I use it as a nightlight. Oh, I don't dare turn it off. Someone else will tell me when to turn it off, but it's small. So it's like a little nightlight, and it's a way that I see it every day. I see this every day, and I give thanks every day. It keeps me connected to the good memories. My only regrets is that when I was, younger, I never said to my grandparents how much they meant to me. We never really, right. That's the one thing you don't really, especially when you're young, you get older and you go, oh, wow, thank God they were there for me,
I was thinking that maybe the people who gave you the answers was your soul group.
Yeah.
and whoever's, you said you felt like you've been guided during your life, or it could be family members.
I've always felt, yeah, as you know, the kind of abilities I have, I still can't figure that out. I have so many different stories. Can I tell you one more little story? Do you have time? You have people waiting.
I should probably go, but that's okay because you can come back next week.
I'll call another time. Yeah.
I'm here every Saturday.
I know that. I watch every Saturday.
Oh, I'm glad that you finally joined us.
Yes, I was nervous. I was embarrassed, a little shy, but
no.
You're so kind.
Well, thank you. And Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you. And the crowd loves you. They say you're beautiful. So go check out the chat and see what's going on.
Well, you made an older lady very, very happy.
I think
I'll come back because I think this community is pretty cool. And yeah, I'll come back. I'll come back with more stories that I have.
Great. And I also created a Discord, if you know what that is. It's just like a place.
I'm just so shy about being online.
Well, that's just a place where you just chat. You don't have to you can either do it as voice or you can just chat and people share stuff there. So if, you want to meet like-minded people, the link's in the description.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thank you. You take care. Have a good night.
See ya.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to turn around and change masks and try a different one that's more comfortable. You give me 5 seconds. See if I can do that without you guys seeing. Now his name is Drift from Fortnite. I don't know how this is going to sound. It's really echoey in my ears. I may have to change back if the sound is too bad. So let's try. And the only thing is I don't have any glasses on, so I can't see. But we'll see if we can I think this is Kristen. I may have to get my magnifying glass out to see. And we'll see if this is going to work. Which mask do you prefer, this one or the other one? This one's more comfortable, but actually it's hotter. And I can't take a drink. And we'll see if she can make it. So that was pretty amazing, right? She won everything on the Price is Right. The boat, the trip. Did you say a car too? And that's really amazing. That was a great story. Let me ask my wife. Can you hear me now?
It's not good.
It doesn't sound good? It sounds bad?
They say sound is blurry.
All right, I'll have to change back. All right, if I'm wearing a mask. There we go. I think you'll hear me much better. I can see a lot better now. I can see. Uh-oh, angel rigging. That's a great way to put it. All right, I think Kirsten's still having problems. So I'm going to put her back in the waiting room and go to Galaxy A21, admit. I have a feeling I know who this is, but we'll see. I'm starting to learn your screen names. I'm starting to memorize them. So you see, now you can see why I chose this mask, because those other masks, you couldn't, with anything covering my mouth, it just doesn't really work. And on. Looks like Galaxies is not working either. All right, so we have 224 people here and only 2 people here with me. So if you have a costume on and you've been nervous about it, now is the best time for you to join because you'll be kind of anonymous. Oh, you know what? I just realized he's talking and I can't hear him.
Hey, hello?
So I didn't put my headphones back in. Hello, who is this?
Is Jolt?
I thought it was you, Jolt, but I can't see you.
Well, I don't know what's happening.
What's going on? It's showing that your video, you don't have video on.
Yeah, I got one, but I don't know what.
We don't. Oh, here you come.
No.
There you are, Jolt. Welcome. Welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm okay.
What's going on with you today?
Today, well, it's a kind of busy day like the other days.
Like any other day.
Yeah, taking care of things, and I got a bunch of cats, a dog, and playing a little bit. So it's these things.
Do you celebrate Halloween or Dia de los Muertos down there? Well, you speak Portuguese.
Some people do, but yeah, some people do.
Some people do.
Yeah, I like your mask.
Thank you.
Cool.
I need one. Well, it's the wrong time of the year. When it's Carnival down there, we want you to come and wear a Carnival mask. Since you're in Rio.
Yeah, we can do this.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So, do you have any new stories for us today? Any spooky, scary stories? Since it's Halloween, do you have any scary stories?
Scary stories. Well, the story I started to tell some time ago, but it was interrupted in the middle, so we can take it back.
All right.
Well, so once I was with my girlfriend in a telepathic conversation. I went back on the whole thing. But
okay, but you only got 10 minutes. Can you tell the whole story in 10 minutes?
Well, the whole story. I was with my girlfriend in a telepathic conversation, sitting on a square in an open coffee on a square, and some people was playing with a ball, and we was looking this, and in the telepathic conversation, I was saying, well, life is a game, and another part of the conversation was like God is everything, and then we hugged. And on the hug is some spooky spirit, a little bit like you here, said, well, if God is everything, I'm God too.
Okay.
And at this moment, this spirit got into me, and I went to very heavy suffering. So I started running, and in the running, in one moment to get out of suffering, I jumped into a wall, just tried to not knock me down, something like this, but it didn't work. But I was so I don't know, so much in pain, and so I don't know. In the same time, I was seeing this matrix kind of falsity of everything, and including my clothes. So I just took out my clothes and kept on running naked in the street, and at one moment I get to a bridge, and in this bridge I tried to jump the bridge, but when I jumped the bridge, I blacked out, and a bit later, when I came back, some people was taking me on the bridge, putting me in an ambulance. And so after I blacked out again, and when I get to the hospital, I wake up again, and I was in a very intense feeling, and suddenly it's like I exploded, and I get like in it was like the middle of the galaxy, something like this. I don't know. It was like a lot of stars, and all this was very like a very strong love and life and very joyful energy. And it's like every star was like a living being, and some somebody who appeared there. It was different prisoners, but I know Jesus was there, and he was just looking and laughing. He didn't say nothing, but he just laughed like something like, I hear you. I know what you went through. You know, it was just this feeling. And so I stayed a bit in this thing, and after slowly, it's like I came back, passed into a lot of dimensions, a lot of things. It's difficult to explain. You know, it was very cosmic thing. You know, to the moment I find myself in the bed of the hospital, and the moment I get in the bed, what took me back to I just heard some bells, like some church bells rings, you know, and I wake up and I just wow, you know, it was what a crazy crazy thing that happened with me, you know, and this really was one of my really life-changing thing, you know.
Now this all started, to me, it sounds like from like a demon chasing you or something, or a spirit.
I think it was more like challenging what I was putting on the table. Like I put on the table like God is everything. So the spirits put me to the test. So, you know, it's like if God is everything, I'm not out of this, you know.
Now, did you say you took off all your clothes and you were running?
Yeah.
What made you decide to do that?
Well, like I told you, I had this feeling when I looked to everything, like to the world. Let's say, it was like I was feeling like all this civilized world and all this thing was like a lie, and including my clothes, you know. So I just took it. It was something really spontaneous, you know. I didn't think it wasn't something really reflected upon, you know. It was just like an instinctive thing, you know. Mm-hmm. I just had to took my clothes off, you know. And
did you say you crashed into the wall on purpose or on accident?
Yeah, on purpose. I was running. I was just because the pain I was feeling was really like a hellish pain. You know, it was physical in my soul, in my in all the senses. You know, so I just, it was also an instinctive thing. You know, I was running. I saw the wall. I just get into it just to. I think maybe like to try to knock me down, you know, but it didn't work, you know. So when I get up, I took my clothes off and I went to run again till I saw till I get on the bridge, and the bridge under the bridge it was like river, like something like 30 meters down, you know, and I saw myself over the river. But at this moment, I just blacked out. You know, it's this for me it was a miracle. It's like a divine hand took me. No, it's not your time. You know, so
right. It sounds like you finally went up into the cosmos. And did you say that Jesus was there?
Yeah, Jesus appeared.
And Jesus was just kind of like, what was Jesus doing?
Like he didn't say nothing. He was just like laughing, and. It was like understanding what I went through.
Do you
But he
feel
didn't say nothing. It was like it's like you see an old brother, something like this, who just saw you pass through some troubles, and he was just looking and laughing. It was
it's kind of
it
like
was
a bystander?
yeah. But it was very yeah, the whole situation, the cosmic, like the galactic situation was very, it was like an explosion of love, so it was like all this pain that I went through, it was like a drop in the energy that I get at this moment. The energy was really huge,
Mm-hmm.
So even the pain I went through was huge, but it was much more huge, so the pain like dissolving this.
After this experience happened, how did you change as a person?
Well, I was already in a process for some experiences I had before. I told you one about that happening in a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And so so it was just like a deepening of this, and some months later I have another experience like this, not where I was like in an interdimensional situation too, and at this moment, it was a lot of things happening. But one thing I felt at this moment that I just passed a point of no return. It was no more return for me to the ordinary, to the average way of living, of seeing things, of all this. Because I just knew that from these times that I was passing in this time and these experiences, I couldn't go back to a normal way of life.
You were a changed person forever.
Yeah.
Right. Would
Yeah.
you say this is the most impactful experience you've had of your life?
Well, it's one of the most. I mean, I had a series of impactful experiences, but this was, well, a few of them was like the deepest, and this was one of the deepest.
Wow. All right, Joel. Well, I got to run. I've got 3 people in line.
Well, once again, thanks for opening this channel and giving the possibility of sharing this kind of things to a broader audience.
Thank you. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, because there's no show without people like you that are willing to share.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed your demon.
Oh, thank you.
Your demon side.
Thank you very much. All right, Joel, you have a great evening. Okay. You take care.
Yeah. And have a nice time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And everybody there who's watching.
All right, let's get moving on to the next person. We got to keep the show going, and we've got Typo here. I hope Typo made. I'm assuming she's fine. We've been following along her road trip. The last time I think she checked in with us was, well, she first checked in with us on the way to Arkansas. Then she checked back in with us on the way home in Pennsylvania. And maybe she's back home to Massachusetts. We'll find out here real soon. And while she's doing that, I can adjust my mask. And we'll see what's going on. Maybe Zoom is a little weird tonight. It seems like some people are having trouble getting in. So as I mentioned, yes, the podcast with Dr. Eben Alexander should be posted on Monday. I think you guys will really like it. Like I said, it's not an account really of his NDE. It's more questions about NDEs, about consciousness, about memory. I guess you could say about the brain. And one of the most fascinating things to me is that we talked about was that memory, well, at least long-term memory, is not stored in the brain. Is Typo moving to Arkansas? I have a feeling she is, although we will find out for sure if she is or not soon, it looks like. And it seems like she may be having trouble as well. I'm not sure. We'll give her a minute. And as I said earlier during the podcast, I haven't met, but I spoke with somebody and I have a dream expert lined up. So I think that should be a really good one. I have another one coming up where I think that we might have while I'm interviewing them, they're from Ask Angelics, and I think that one, it's a mother and son, and they'll both be on together, and I think the son will be channeling with me while I'm actually interviewing them or being with them on the podcast, and I need to check in with that. And if that is true, then maybe we can I thought that she was telling me if we have any questions that we can actually ask direct questions during the podcast, you know, like as he is channeling. So I may actually have you guys solicit me questions if you're interested in that. I need to follow up with that, and then I'll make a post. And if you guys are interested in having me ask the channeler questions, we can do that. Dream expert. Yay. I am taking dream expert, a dream interpretation class. Cool. Very cool. All right. I think Typo's having a little trouble. I'm not sure what her trouble is. I'm going to put Typo back into the waiting room and bring Anika in. And then hopefully Typo, maybe she's still on the road, and maybe she's like not in a good Wi-Fi zone or something. Maybe she needs to go like to a Starbucks or somewhere, Whole Foods, or whoever gives you free Wi-Fi like that. I think she was, even last time, I think she was having a little bit of problems because I was talking to her about, are you near Starbucks? Anika, hello. How are you? Oh, your mic's not on yet. It's coming on. It's connecting. Anika is connecting to audio. You're almost here. Do you have any baby Rudolphs? No, I wish I did, though. I wish I had some Halloween candy. That would be fun. Oh. I could see you. I just cannot hear you. It said you were connecting to audio. Typo is home now, all right? I wonder why we were having problems. And we lost Anika anyway, so we'll go back to Typo. And we'll try again and see if that'll work this time. Kit Kats too, M&Ms. Everything. Oh, here she, I think she's going to make it. We're halfway there. We just don't have your sound. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't say happen. It's got to probably turn on the sound. We don't have your sound on yet. It'll tell me if your sound is on because it'll put a little microphone. So for some reason, your sound is not connected with Zoom yet. No volume, no sound. Sound is not connected. Mic is not sound. You're going to hang up and come back? I guess so. Will we give Kristen another try? Because she has been trying to get on, so we'll see if she'll be able to make it. I have always thought of myself as a human and then realized that I am a spirit, being human. When I came back in my body, God bless you, my perspective of life forever changed. I think I cried every day. So we got Kirsten, but we don't have her video. Ask to start video. Actually, you know what's pretty interesting is these dark glasses I thought would make it really dark, but it doesn't. I guess there's so much light on me that actually it doesn't make, doesn't make it look dark. And I have to use reading glasses because I'm getting older and I can't see very well with small print like I used to. So I bought these glasses that are sunglasses but readers. And I think, oh, Kristen is there. Asked to start video. Still having trouble. Kevin Town is here. Oh, that's cool. We have Kevin back and Stephen Cake. And Typo. Boy, we got a good lineup here. And Jeanette. All right, so let me put Kristen back in the waiting room. Let's go back to Typo again and see if we'll get her working. We almost had her. Now we got the sound on.
Yay, it's getting better.
There you are. Victory is ours. So you made it.
That was
So
awesome.
you made it home safely. You're back in Massachusetts, right?
Yep, made it home. All is well.
Great, great.
Yep, and I loved having you guys to share the trip with. That was
great.
fun.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You have a really neat house. I was looking. It looked like you had some nice skylights or something.
Yeah, we do have. It's an oldie but a goodie. Yeah, it's fun, and I hope it just doesn't look too weird when people see it. But it's just an attic with a tilted roof, so it it works. Hey, I have a fun creepy story I thought I'd share.
Let's hear it.
Okay. I was driving home one day and a friend called, and the friend said, hey, I have a lady on the phone. She's so scared, and something funky is going on with her house. So can you just do a clearing? So I was like, oh yeah, sure. So I pulled over off of the highway at a store, and we did a three-way talk. And this lady comes on and she says, she's a psychic. She works with teens, and she has 2 boys, and her house is just scaring everyone like really badly. So I said, okay, now normally I do clearings of houses and offices, and I do productivity work and stuff. So what I need, the only piece of information I need is the shape of the house. So is it a rectangle? Is it a square? Is it like a round adobe house? What is it? And permission, because I don't like to get into people's space and their energy until they give me permission. So she tells me that it's a rectangle, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I start describing what's going on, and I'm like, oh, the problem is up on the second floor, right? And I can feel this energy, and there's 2 bedrooms on the second floor that face the front of the house. And apples, I can see apples in the backyard. So I'm like, oh, the energy in the bedrooms, right? They're in the bedrooms, and you come up the stairs and there's 2 rooms, and then your room is in the back, right? And she's like, yep. And I'm like, okay, who's in the front right-hand bedroom, second floor? And she says, oh, that's my boy, blah, blah. And I say, okay, who's in the other bedroom? It's another boy, right? She says, yep, it's another boy, younger. And I say, okay. I say, the room on the left, the older boy, that's the scared kid, right? She says, yep. And I can feel that energy just pulsing down on the bed. And I'm like, is that it? He can't sleep, right? And she's like, right. He keeps waking up in the middle of the night. He's scared, like he can't sleep. He's waking up in the middle of the night. He'll come in and bug me, but he's like heading off to high school. And she'll probably hear this later on and she'll laugh because now we're friends.
Wow.
So she says he's heading off to high school, and he wouldn't normally come in and be nervous about this stuff. And I say, okay. So then I'm like, all right, so let me just see who this is. So I'm like trying to connect, and I'm seeing military, an outfit of military, but I don't know military arms or whatever. And your mask is awesome.
Thank you.
So, so I'm like, there's a guy in the military, and he's wearing, and then he changes the vision of the hat. And as I mentioned before, for our members, because now we're friends, all the people that talk in this chat that I love, I'm working on my visual dictionary for my head to receive information, right? That's been like all of this year so that I can do remote viewing. Mm-hmm. So I see these military thing, and I'm like, he's in the Navy, and he's on the bed, and he's purposely irritating your kid. And then she says, oh, that must be my uncle. And I'm like, yeah, he's scaring the dickens out of this kid. And I'm like, but he's only doing it because he couldn't get his attention. So the whole house is upset and perceiving it as fearful. Mm-hmm. But the uncle who passed away is only using it out of desperation because he can't get your attention. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, and then she tells me that she's helping kids become psychic. And I'm like, oh, he's just trying to get your attention because you talk to him all the time. And I'm like, what's going on with lemons all over your kitchen? And she says, lemons? No, there's nothing about lemons. I'm like, it's not wallpaper. It's real, honest to goodness lemons. She says, nothing. And I'm like, okay, what's going on in the backyard? Why are there apples? And she's like, oh, there are apple trees in my backyard, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's what we grow in our backyard. And I'm like, well, that's very cool. I'm like, well, if the lemons ever make sense to you, let me know. And put a picture of your uncle. Do you talk to him in the kitchen? She says, yeah, he passed away and I really like him and da-da-da. And I talked to him in the kitchen. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to be scared, then you're going to have to figure out a new way to get messages from him. So put a little picture up on a shelf or something. And when he comes by, maybe he can knock it down because he speaks in energy and he's showing you that. And I'm like, and that kid obviously can feel energy. So he's trying to wake that kid up to recognize it. So anyway, she called me like the next day. She's like, oh, the lemons. She's like, I just realized that I'm doing a lemon cleanse in my body. I've been doing it for a month. So every morning I cut lemons for this lemon juice cleanse. And I'm like, well, I think your uncle wants to say, congratulations, you're doing really well. And he's psyched that you're taking care of your health. And it's time to work with your boy. So isn't that an interesting story? Because a lot of ghoulish things are either, I think fear is more of a wake-up call, right? Because we're spirits. So there's nothing to be afraid of anyway, right? Because we just tell them, get away, right? Or call God or whoever your higher power is and tell them to get the creepy bad guy out. Or clear out the space, right? Because we have rain, right? We're in 3D. This is our gift, right? Ask and you shall receive. So it's more that the scary stuff, if you look at it, a lot of times the scary stuff is what makes people realize that they're spirit and that their spirit is real. And sometimes it helps them to make, put an egg of safety around themselves, or it helps them to start to rely on higher power to clear things out. So I think it's more of an opportunity of education. What do you think, Jeff? That's it. That's my story.
Well, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was thinking that maybe a lot of times that people think there's a ghost in the house, but maybe it's just someone trying to contact and they're just misinterpreting that.
Cool. And it's an empowering way to see it, because way back in the 70s when they started doing scary spirit movies and stuff, and now when they just do bad nasty, right? They're doing straight out many killings movies. That's like the entertainment theme, right?
Yeah.
It's nasty now, but it used to be at least spirit was getting in there. And by the way, guys, I want to get to know your stories. You're all here because you know cool stuff. So if you're shy, I have to tell you, it totally doesn't matter, because everyone here is aware of spirit. So it doesn't matter what your bodysuit looks like, right?
Yeah.
So please call in, because I want to get to know you guys. And Joel, the last guy, was it Joel that was just on?
Jolt with a T.
Jolt, very cool guy, right? And the one before him, the girl with the brown hair, what was her name? Lisa, very cool. This is how we get to know each other, right?
Exactly.
And look, you can't be more goofy than me. Ready? This is kind of a joke outfit, only because I didn't have one available, and it's cold and rainy in Massachusetts, so this is totally a joke, right?
Oh yeah.
Ta-da!
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Right? It's out of desperation. And I have three sweatshirts underneath, so I'm warm enough in my attic to sit and watch you guys. So that you can't be worse than me for an outfit. I just did this out of desperation. So call in and share your stories. It's fun. Thanks, guys. Good night.
All right. Thank you for that. Thanks for helping out, and you have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And join Discord.
Oh, yes. There you go. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Don't report. I'm going to take a break, at least for a little while, from my mask. And go back to, maybe this will be kind of at least somewhat of a costume, just at least dark glasses. And yeah, it's much better. All right, who do we get in next? Let's go to, I don't know who was, I think Steven was in line. Maybe I can say this is it kind of reminds me of, and I don't look anywhere as good as Tom Cruise. The glasses remind me of Tom Cruise in Risky Business. So I'm not trying to say anything like that. That's my costume, my Risky Business costume. If you guys are old like me and know that movie, there's probably some of you that don't even know the movie. And Steven has glasses too. Are you the Terminator?
I need your clothes, your boots, your bike, and some general life advice. I'm the Terminator.
Is it when?
You're the best show, folks.
Is that?
We got the best show for you, folks. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Was it the Terminator that he said, "I'll be back"?
I'll be back.
So what?
California.
What's going on with you this week, Steven?
Just
same old stuff.
I mean, I guess you don't. It's always hard for me because I'm right on that edge where it's like everything makes me suicidal or homicidal. It's like if you have 3rd-degree burns,
right,
and someone slaps you, you'll think that they're satanic.
Right. Now let me see if I can remember her name. Is it Monique?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She likes it.
I can say
she
hello,
likes a little
Monique.
game where she likes to move my head like that, and then give me a slap like that. That's just it's like a game.
So if you're new here, Steven has, because some people are new, right? Not everybody knows your story. The regulars know your story, the backstory. But if you're new here, Steve has a being with him named Monique. And sometimes she likes to mess with him and grab his arm and stuff.
Yeah, she likes to move my head like this. If I'm just sitting here. If I play music, she'll get me to like start doing this to it.
Can you resist her? Like if you hold your head straight?
Yeah, but it's like there's no real point in it. It's like a game. I'll like pretend to resist it. Mm-hmm. She'll be trying to move my arm up. I'll just be like, "Urgh."
Are you going to do
it? You want it?
You got a scary story for us.
Yeah, well, I have a sleep disorder. Mm-hmm. So
you get sleep paralysis? Yeah, sleep paralysis?
Yes. It's not anymore. I haven't had it, but I've seen aliens and demons, and they form out of objects in your room. So like I had a fan, and it turned into this demon dog from a video game called Half-Life, mm-hmm. and it was growling at me.
So are you saying that it's your brain playing tricks on you because of the sleep paralysis, no. or those things are really transforming into aliens and stuff?
Well, it's a combination, because your spirit is when you're asleep, you're more, spirit's more apt to what's going on in the spirit world. And then there's also this collective conscious, for some reason they're always negative. That's another thing. But there's this collective consciousness where all these things exist, like creatures in video games and whatnot. And mm-hmm. I saw the 3-pronged alien hand went across like that, mm-hmm. and a demon taunted me. And it was much like in the near-death experiences where it's this really deep, frightening voice that mocks you and ridicules you, and like you can't move and you can't do anything, and you're just praying to God to stop, and he mocks you. Mm-hmm. But I've learned to keep my eyes closed, because if you open it, you'll see some pretty bad stuff.
What have you seen?
Like it's usually like, it's weird. It's like, so something forms out of objects in your room. So if you have like a shirt hanging, like it can form out of that, or like a fan or something. It's
kind of reminds me of the Matrix, how they can just take any body and take over it. But this is actually physical objects.
Well, you can't move, and then once you wake up, it's over. But it's very, very frightening. I also, some of them aren't that frightening. Some are just kind of disturbing. I saw, you remember the hammerhead shark mm-hmm. alien from the Star Wars Cantina? You know that one? They have a name for it. I don't know what it is, but I saw that thing.
Ooh. Well, there's the guy that says it's a trap. They always quote that guy. Trap. Yeah, was that the guy you're talking about? Or different
worms, I hate them. You hate them. What do you say? What do you got here, lady? Hey. Yeah, I didn't see that guy. It was in the cantina. They had like all these weird creatures in there. It's like you wonder how they come up with them.
Have you seen my podcast with Ronnie Dawson?
I don't know.
Ronnie Dawson is a guy that he was seeing UFOs, and he decided to shine a green astronomy laser at one, I guess to get its attention. And they didn't like that, according to him, and they met him at his house the next night and paralyzed him in his bed, and proceeded to look around and find that laser and see what he was up to. So that sleep paralysis kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of these alien things are interdimensional. They're not necessarily traveling from. Mm-hmm. They could be. There could be different things. That could be one thing that's going on, but there could be multiple things.
Right. Well, according to him, he drives an oil rig out in West Texas, and he goes out to the oil wells and fills up the truck with oil, and then brings them, back into the city. So he was seeing them out in the middle of nowhere in West Texas, and he decided he's just going to get their attention. It's a great podcast. It's one of my favorite alien podcasts because, the whole story is pretty amazing if you listen to the whole thing. And on that
note, I didn't invent the time machine so you can go back and have relations with your mother. Oh, it's for science, Marty.
I was going to say, you've got to get me, for next time you come on, I'm giving you some homework. You've got to give me some type of UFO person, maybe like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or some kind of
Did you see
impression.
the Bob Lazar?
I've seen Bob Lazar. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
they say that
when
he's.
I first saw.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I can tell if people are being sincere or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time, this is back like in the 90s, I said either he's completely out of his mind or he's telling the truth. There's no in between.
Right.
And it turns out he's telling the truth.
Right.
So they got something.
Yeah, I watched a video where somebody is a body analysis expert by reading people's body language, and they said he was telling the truth. The fascinating thing.
I can tell, it's just easy. Like even when I was a kid, I could tell adults were lying to me about Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. So like, I've just always been able to tell when people are being sincere or when they're being deceptive. One thing they do when they're being deceptive is if they'll say something that's obvious. Mm-hmm. Like just today, I was at the golf course, the worker there was like, well, you don't work here. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, of course I don't work there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I don't know. I mean, I was going to say something and I forgot, but I don't know. Anyway, Stephen, I better run. I've got 6 people in the waiting room.
You got to do what you got to do, man. I was with Paul McCartney the other day. He was doing his thing and I was doing my thing. We're getting along. Pretty good. He's a nice guy.
I wish I could do Paul back with you. We could have a little show.
Yeah, do Paul and Ringo and do some other things.
All right, brother. You have a great weekend, and I will see you next time.
Bye.
Take care. Oh, he removed himself. All right, so I'll try Kristen again because she's been here probably for an hour and a half trying to get in. And I appreciate that, Kristen, excuse me. So we'll see if she can get in. And we'll see if she can make it. Hopefully she can't. I mean, can. Hopefully she will make it. See, we get her audio hooked up, and I think I've even heard kind of some kind of sound there before. But for some reason, she just can't get her camera started. And I'm not sure why. Maybe she's in a bad Wi-Fi zone. Maybe she's on her cell phone or an iPad or something. Maybe you should try maybe you should try a different device to get on. If you're even hearing me, Kristen, like if you're on a phone, try your computer or try somebody else's phone or try an iPad. Can you do it with an iPad? I'm not sure about that. I think some of the iPads, though, maybe I haven't bought one in forever, but I think that they can even make phone calls with somebody. So maybe you can. And I don't know. She's still struggling. I'm going to put you back into the waiting room and I'm going to go with Kevin Town. Or should I go with Anika tried to get in before too? Let me try her back. She tried to get in. We had her. And then I lost her. She just like disappeared. So we can see if we can get her in. Okay, she's halfway there. We just need your sound. If you can hear me, Anika. We've got video. We need audio too. Let's see if she can make it. And if you're hearing me, I wonder if she's probably on a phone because it's turned vertical like this. So it should be able to grab her audio right off the bat, since it's all on one device. Oh, it says it's connecting. We may be there. It's connecting. You guys see this right down here. It says it's connecting to audio, so maybe we're going to get lucky. I guess it's delayed about 30 seconds. Maybe we'll get lucky. Does she need to unmute? No, she does not need to unmute. If it was muted, the little microphone would have like a red line going through it, like that. So we're almost there. So she's got her audio connected. Now she needs to unmute. Are you there?
Hi.
All right, we made it.
I'm here.
All right, great. Aniko, where are you from?
I'm from Tennessee, but I live in Iowa.
Iowa. Wow, what part of Iowa?
Yes. Iowa City.
Have you ever heard of Centerville?
Yes.
You know where that is? It's like at the bottom of the state.
I have no idea where it's at, but I've heard of it. I've heard of tornadoes going through there.
Ooh, what are you doing? What are you doing in Iowa City?
This is just where I resided. I used to live in Tennessee, but I needed something different, so I came to Iowa.
What part of Tennessee are you from?
I'm from It's a small town. It's called Camden, Tennessee. It's like outside of Nashville.
Interesting. How did you pick Iowa?
My uncle.
Oh, there you go. So you have
yeah, my uncle lived here, and so he told me to come here, and I just came. I liked it, and I've been here since 2013.
Wow, that's great. Is it cold there in the winter?
Yes.
Like crazy cold.
Yes, it's really, really cold.
Wow.
Very cold.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle that.
Yeah, I think about that every winter, like going back to Tennessee. So, but I've been making it through.
You've been pulling it through. All right. Well, you got any spooky or scary stories for us?
I have a lot, but I've always had spiritual experiences in my life. But I'll tell you one particular experience that happened to me. It's whenever, this is when I lived in Tennessee. And I used to be a Christian, but I quit Christianity because I was like very depressed and suicidal and stuff. And so I've seen a lot of stuff in the church that just didn't make sense to me. So I left Christianity and started seeking a different religion. And when I started seeking this different religion, something happened. Like someone came into my life and they told me I remember asking them like, hey, do you know who the real God is? And they said, it's Jesus Christ. And so I'm like, what? So he was like, well, if you want to know Jesus, you have to really seek him. So, and meanwhile, I'm still in this other religion. And so, so I said, okay, well, I'm gonna try it. So I started seeking Jesus. I kind of put the other religion to the side. And so that night, the first day I quit that religion, I started seeing these shadows and these creatures were attacking me at nighttime. And I didn't understand it and I didn't know what was going on because church didn't talk about this stuff. And so this was happening. So I remember the person who told me to seek God, I went and asked him about it. Like, hey, I'm seeing these things. Like, what do I need to do? And he was like, oh, those are demons. And whenever you see them, you have to call on Jesus. So I was like, what? So I said, okay. So that night I went to bed. They attacked me again. Boom. And when they attacked me, I screamed Jesus. And when they left me alone. So, but the crazy thing about it, they would continuously still do it every single night. And so it was this one particular night I went to sleep. And when I went to sleep, it was like I came to me walking in this huge warehouse. It was like this big warehouse. It was empty. It was nothing in it. And I was walking with this man. He was probably about 5'9", 6 foot, Caucasian man, black hair, a nice black suit on. He was carrying a briefcase. And so as I'm walking with him, I'm sorry, every time I tell this, I get chills. It's kind of creepy, but So as I'm walking with this man, he was really beautiful too. And it was like we knew each other, but I just couldn't I didn't know where I knew him from, but we were really close. And so we're talking in this huge warehouse, and he's on my left, and over to my right, I hear this loud noise or this loud voice. And when this voice spoke, everything shook. And he said, "Look at him." And so so when the voice said that, I looked towards the man, and the man, he was just looking at me like, "What? Like, what's wrong?" And so I was like, "Did you hear that?" He was like, "Hear what?" And so I said, never mind. So we continued to walk and talk. And so as we continued to walk and talk, this loud voice comes back again, and it came back angry. And he said, "Look at him again for who he really is." So when I turned and looked towards this man, it was the devil. It was Satan. And I couldn't believe it. You know, like you hear these things, but you don't really believe them. I couldn't believe it. It was the devil himself. He had the blood red skin, horns, razor sharp teeth, and he was still smiling at me and talking about what it was that we were talking about. And when I seen him, I just remember I screamed one Jesus as long and as loud as I could and as hard as I could. I knew once I stopped saying Jesus, my lungs would probably burst. So as I'm screaming, Jesus, like the devil starts saying, "Anika, it's me. How can you do me like this? It's me." And oh my goodness, that was, I'm sorry, I got so much like chills.
That's okay.
Just like reliving it.
Now, I'm a little bit confused. This was in a dream, or you woke up and this was in reality?
It felt like I laid down to go to sleep. And then it was like I woke back up, but I woke up in a warehouse. I don't know if I was out of my body, like
an out of body experience, or
yes.
Wow.
I'm thinking it was that, because my brother, he's had experiences too, and he came out of his body, and he can tell you a lot of things also, because this happens a lot throughout my family, like spiritual stuff.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the religion that you joined?
Oh, I don't want to offend anyone.
Oh, okay.
But I joined Islam.
Okay.
Yes, I joined Islam, and I thought it was it, you know, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into, like skipping religions and stuff. And after I left that religion is when all this paranormal stuff started happening. Like,
are you back to Christianity?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a Christian. I don't go to church, but I do believe in God. I do like my own thing at home, like pray, study, and everything like that, and try to live out God's word. Like, but I can't do the churches anymore. Yeah.
So it appears that you may have danced with the devil.
Yes, I did. He knew me. He knew my name. He called me by my name, and he was shocked that I called Jesus on him. Like, he was shocked. It was just like, how can you do me like this?
Like you betrayed him.
Yes, that's exactly what it was, and it's so scary. But when I was screaming out Jesus in that warehouse, a huge hand, God's hand, came down and grabbed me out of there and pulled me out of there and laid me in this field. And when I was in this field, I could feel grass around me and people around me, but it was like I wasn't allowed to look and see. And so, like, I just laid there looking at the sky, breathing hard. And the only thing I could think about was, this is real. The devil is really real. Like, he's really out here, and he's really in his religions, and people just don't know. And I don't know, I think about that all the time. And you want to know something that's crazy? Is that warehouse. This happened to me in Tennessee. That warehouse, I started working there in Iowa. Like, what? I started working there. I'm still there, actually. I started working there in 2017, but I didn't realize it until 2020 that this is the place. Something kept telling me this is the place. This is the place that I walked with the devil in. And I've had, I don't want to. What's so crazy about it is I started dating a guy there. In 2017. And this guy, his favorite color is black. All his cars he owns is black. All his clothes is black. That's all he wear is black. And the relationship.
Is he a white guy with black hair?
No, he's black. He's black. But he's an atheist. Everything he has is black. And when I first started dating this guy, I would have dreams every night, and it was nightmares. It would be like my brother would get murdered and he would be standing there watching. And it would be like someone trying to break into my house and kill me, and he would be there watching. Like, it was just the creepiest thing ever. And I think the dreams really kind of broke us apart because it was just too like when I would be around him and I go home and have these nightmares, but then like when I wouldn't see him for a week, I wouldn't dream. Like, it was just the most craziest thing ever.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I was going to ask you something. I just forgot. Darn.
No, it's okay. You
I'm
can
wrapped
ask
up
me.
in your story.
Oh, I have so many. I can't even count. Oh my goodness. Yes.
So, do you think that this experience has changed you in any way?
Yes, definitely. Oh yeah.
Like how?
Oh, yeah. It changed my heart. It more than anything, it really changed my heart. Like, I can forgive people now. Like, I can love people without judging and stuff like that. And it really changed me a lot. I actually was healed when I was, okay, so all of this, when I seen the devil and stuff, happened to me when I lived in Tennessee. And after I seen the devil, I had an encounter with God in the hospital. I went to, okay, do you mind if I tell this real quick?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Okay.
Just see if you can go kind of quick, but sure, tell it.
Okay. Remember I said I was depressed or whatever. I was looking for God.
Right.
Okay. So, well, I had experienced child abuse when I was a child. And so I was really broken. I was molested. Sorry for saying that.
That's okay. We get it.
I was molested by a guy. Well, this guy, he almost died, and he was a friend of my family. And my family went to visit him. They didn't know what happened to me. And so this guy is on his deathbed and stuff, and my family's all around his bed. And I'm standing by the door. I don't want to be over there by him. And so I'm standing by the door, and my grandmother says, Anika, he's reaching out to you. Like, you need to get over here. He's calling you. So I argued with her and said, no, I don't want to go over there. And my brothers was there. And so they all started yelling at me, get over here. And they didn't know what he did to me, you know? So I go over there, and when I touched this man's hand, I felt something leave my body, which I knew what it was. It was this woman, a reptilian woman. She possessed me. Used to see her every night. And so, but she left me, and I felt joy and peace come over me, and it healed me.
Wow.
I was free of depression. It was like this man took my innocence, but God healed me through him. Like, he seen something in that hospital room, but he wouldn't talk about it. I think he wouldn't talk about it. But I remember telling him some of my spiritual stories after all of this, and he would say, yes, you're not lying, like, the spirit realm is real, this, that, and the other, but he would never talk about what he's seen, because me and him actually became really close after this.
Wow.
But so I was really healed through him. He touched me, and I felt the woman left, and peace and stuff came over me, and I was healed completely. I didn't hate anybody anymore. I wasn't depressed, and I haven't been since that day. Like, I've been healed completely that day.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Anika, I really appreciate you coming and sharing with us.
Thank
Come back
you.
anytime. I've got to run. I've got 4 people in line, but
All right.
Have a great weekend.
You too. I'll be back next weekend.
All right, super.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right. So perhaps she was dancing with the devil. What do you guys think about that? Let's go with Kevin Town and see what Kevin's up to. What is Kevin up to? Boy, we have a lot of people here. I had a feeling that this night was going to be a big night. Let's see. More. Ask to start video. I don't have to ask. He's there.
How you doing, Jeff?
Kevin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You're a little low.
A little low?
Your volume's a little low for me. I don't know about for the rest of the room.
Can you hear me a little better?
I think so.
Okay.
What you got for us that's spooky?
Well, this story is one that happened back in the 80s when I was 18 years old. I have a lot of stories, but this one really bothered me a lot. And by the way, I didn't make it down to Spirit Halloween because I've been so busy getting ready for winter.
That's okay. You don't. It was costume optional, not required.
That's good. This story happened back in the 80s when I was 18 years old. I was working nights and working the graveyard shift, and I was just enjoying life as an 18-year-old. I had a really nice car back then, a little Subaru GL 5-speed hatchback, and I went to work on a Friday night, got off Saturday morning, and I went straight home. And I lived with my mother because my parents were separated, my mom and dad. And I grew up in a house that had a lot of paranormal things that would go on in it. You know, ever since my dad bought the house, he knew there was something wrong with the place. And the house was fairly empty because my mother, being an alcoholic, she would sell things to support her habit. So I grew up without a bed. None of my brothers and sisters and I have beds. We slept on the floor. I've told you this before.
Right.
But on this morning, when I came home from work, I parked my car right out in front of the house. I lived right across from the school, elementary school, where I went when I was a younger kid. And so my car was parked right out front. And I went into the house and nobody was home. I had no idea where my mom was. Nobody was home. And so I just took off my shoes, and the couch was, I mean, when you go into the house, you go right into the living room. The couch was right to the right of the door. And I took off my shoes and I laid down and I fell asleep. I probably wasn't asleep any longer than 45 minutes, and the phone rang. And it was my best friend, Sam. And he told me that there was going to be a party Saturday night. And he says, you know, do you want to go? Because at that time, back in the 80s, out of my group of friends, I was the only one that had wheels. So I was the ride to the party. And, you know, which was no big deal. I piled my friends in that little Subaru GL and would head to parties. We had good times back then. But that's why he called me. And since he had me on the phone, he's like, well, hey, why don't you come on over? And I says, oh, Sam, I says, I just got, you know, home a little bit ago. I says, I laid down, fell asleep. I'm pretty tired. He's like, oh, come on, man, just come on over. And my best friend lived only one city block away. I mean, I literally could have walked to his house. So I says, all right. I says, I'm pretty tired, but I says, I'll swing over and hang out with you for a bit, but then I got to come back home and go to sleep. And so I says, I'll be over in just a couple minutes, and I hung up the phone. And I went back over to the couch to get my shoes. And as I'm walking back over to the couch, I noticed my shoes are gone. And I'm the type of guy that when I take my shoes off, even to this day, I set them on the floor neatly with the laces inside the shoe, you know, side by side. That's where they were, right at the foot of the bed or foot of the couch. And I thought, well, where are my shoes? And I knew I took them off and set them there. So the couch had like one of those flaps on it. You know, you lift up the flap to see if maybe they got knocked under. They weren't under the couch. I looked around the couch, the end tables, couldn't find them. Went into the dining room. I'm looking around the dining room table, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm the only one in the house. There's nobody home. And I'm thinking, where are my shoes? And so I spent enough time looking for my shoes that the phone rang again. And it was my friend Sam. He says, hey, man, where are you? Are you coming? And I says, well, I've been busy looking for my shoes. He says, your shoes, where are they? I says, I don't know. I can't find them. I says, that's why I haven't come over to your house. I don't know where my shoes are. They're gone. I says, I set them right next to the couch. I fell asleep. 45 minutes later, you called me. And I says, my shoes are missing. He says, well, go out and look in your car. I says, Sam, when I came home, I came into the house with my shoes on. He says, well, just go out in the car and look. And he was very persistent. So I said, all right, hold on. And I set the phone receiver down and I went out in my socks and looked in my Subaru and there was no shoes. So I came back in and I told him, I says, the shoes are not in the car. And he says, well, are you coming over or not? I says, yes, I'll be over. I says, just let me find my shoes. And I says, and then I'll be over. I'll talk to you later. He says, all right, man, I'll wait for you. And I hung up the phone. Well, at this time I had to go to the bathroom. So I went upstairs and I went to the bathroom. And as I'm taking a leak, I'm thinking, where are my shoes? And then something just told me, look in the closet. There was, the house that I grew up in was a 3-bedroom house. But over the years, the 2 bedrooms towards the back of the house, the one dividing wall got knocked out and then 2 rooms were converted into one large room. So there was 2 closets in that room. And the house was old. It was kind of junky. The hardwood floors weren't nice floors. There was no carpet in the house. And so I'm thinking in the bathroom, I should look in the closet. And the closets, there was 3 of them upstairs. The 2 that were into the room that was converted into one large room and then one in the smaller room. And I looked in the smaller bedroom and all the closets were the same way. They were full of boxes, old shoes that my mother had worn over the years. There was a collection of my sister's Nancy Drew books, piles of them in there, and like a series of little Bibles and stuff. And so I looked in that closet. There was nothing. It had like a little louver dividing door and I closed it. And I went over to the other room in the back where it had been converted into one large empty room. There was nothing in there. Closets full of junk and boxes and everything. And I looked in the one closet. There was nothing. And the last closet I looked in, on top of the pile was my shoes. It was like somebody tossed them in there. One was laying sole side up and the other one was just beyond the pile to where I could see just part of the heel of my shoe sticking up. And I could not believe what I was looking at. I was looking at my shoes. And I quickly grabbed the shoes. I did not put them on. I carried them and I ran down the stairs, ran outside, got into my Subaru, and I drove to my buddy's house 1 city block away in my socks before I put the shoes on. And when I got to Sam's house, I told him what happened and where I found my shoes. He says, well, what were they doing in the upstairs closet? I says, I don't know. I says, why that 45 minutes that I fell asleep, something took my shoes, took them upstairs and tossed them in the closet in the back room. That freaked me out to think that something was that close to me as I slept on the couch when I got home from work and I never heard it. And it took it upstairs and threw my shoes in the closet. I have never, so long as I live, forget that story of what happened back then and what I saw when my shoes were actually in that closet. That freaked me out.
Yeah. I thought you were going to be going with this, that this being was delaying you from going to your friend's house to keep you out of trouble. But no, that wasn't the story.
To tell you the truth, Jeff, that is something over the years that crossed my mind. But being that he was only a block away, what could really happen or go wrong? I mean, I went to my friend's house hundreds of times. You know, it was only a block away. And, you know, he was a friend of mine that he was very skeptical. And there again, his parents were separated. He lived with his dad. And he never believed that things went on at my house. I told him, I says, well, you know, one of these nights, come on over and spend the night. You know, bring a sleeping bag because we sleep on the floor. And he did. And when he came over, he rode a bike. He had a sleeping bag tied on the handlebars. And when he spent the night, he ended up going home at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he got in trouble by his dad because he went back home at 2 o'clock in the morning, banging on the door, and his dad had to get out of bed, come down, unlock the door to let his son in the house.
Yeah.
His dad wasn't happy about that. And I says, well, why did you leave at 2 o'clock in the morning? He says, because something was touching me. It woke me up and it was still touching me. So he said something he could not see was grabbing him and touching him. And it frightened him enough to where he fled. I didn't even know I was sound asleep. He never woke me up to tell me he was leaving. He just left on his own because, you know, back growing up in the 70s and even into the 80s, we didn't lock our doors. You know, the city I grew up in has a population of like 65,000 people. It's a small city. And so nobody locked their doors. And he just went home. But Sam's dad locked the door.
Wow.
And Sam couldn't get in the house until he woke his dad up. But yeah, that freaked me out. I never forgot that story.
That would freak me out.
You know.
All right, Kevin, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to run. I have to cut it short with everybody because I'm overtime and I've got 6 people waiting. Okay. So it's a busy night tonight. But if you want to check out Kevin's YouTube channel, he has a YouTube channel called Getting Along Alone. He puts up all kinds of stuff, and he's been on as a guest on my podcast a couple times. We've talked about
Thanks a lot,
angels, and
Jeff.
we've talked about other stuff. So, Kevin, thanks for popping in. I wish you the best, and have a great weekend.
Thanks. You too, my friend.
All right,
We'll
take
see
care.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right, let's get to the next person. We got to keep the show flowing because we got so many people here. Let's see. I will give Kristen, she's been here all night, and I just feel like I've got to get her a chance to get in. Literally for over 2 hours, she's been trying to get in and not been unable. Been unsuccessful. And there's 300 people. That's awesome. 300 people here today. That's good. It's a good night. It's a great night for guests. There's a lot of people wanting to get in. And for those of you who just came, I took my mask off. I was wearing my mask. It was just kind of getting uncomfortable. I wore it for about an hour and a half, and I took it off, and I'm just in the sunglasses right now. So I think this may have been her problem the most of the evening is we can't get her camera to work. Microphone is there, but no camera. So we'll give her a minute to see if that's working now. And then if not, I'm going to have to keep going. Got to try to give everybody a chance to get in. And there's a lot of people here. And if you don't make it for some reason, please start coming on every Saturday night, because I'm here every Saturday night. And so I think she's still having problems. I'm going to put her back into the waiting room. Let's see if Michael, I think, has been waiting quite a long time. So let's see if we can get Michael in. Ask to start video. Thank you, Bullfrog Drop. Michael, oh, he's not there yet. He's almost there.
Hi. Can you
Hey,
hear me?
Michael. Yes, I can. Welcome back. Thanks for
Great to see
joining
you,
us.
Mr. Jeff.
Thank you. You got any scary stories for us this evening?
Perhaps could be considerably scary to the ego.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Hmm.
Well, what happened?
Yeah, well, it's not so much what happened, but what is. I'd like to touch on some sort of archaic principles or subjects, and about how much time do we have?
You have.
For the...
I'm trying to cut it at 10 minutes for everybody.
Okay.
At the max, just because I want to give everybody a chance. I'm already over time.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose I'll start. Let's see. I suppose I'll start with just mentioning how powerful Penny's NDE was. I forget her last name.
Whitbroat?
Yes. I recently watched hers, and that was really powerful. And highly recommend to anybody who hasn't. And so I think I'd like to touch on that kind of the principle of Christ, and how there's a lot of talk of Christ and Jesus Christ in NDEs and other spiritually transformative experiences. And I think that I'm not debating whether he was a man or on earth or not, but more so that he claimed that he was the way. That he represented the way, but he wasn't like the only one, if you will. And I think that's important. And when I hear the religious term Christian, I just think of Christ in, like, that's, it's a much broader and symbolic metaphor. And so that suppose well, I think that people experience like I heard a lot of like kind of demonic sort of things recently about people's interactions with like negative spirits, and I think that those aren't necessarily scary or spooky if you understand why they're there and why we're experiencing them. And I think that's why we are experiencing them, is to be able to understand the phenomena and why we're, you know, encountering these circumstances, and that they're actually responding to our beacon or our vibration.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that earlier, that we were thinking that maybe the people that they think they're seeing demons or entities or whatever, maybe they're just people trying to contact them, and they're misinterpreting in that.
Perhaps that could be a viewpoint. However, I think that it's more so God's sort of curriculum in an effort for us to learn to love that, to learn and better understand that phenomenon and why it's occurring. I kind of am blanking on, because I had a kind of like different subjects that I was coming around to that I was hoping to touch on, but it's kind of also broad. That I think next time I'll try to have a more like pinpoint outline on what I wanted to try to convey. But
yeah, that's okay. I mean, and I'm just a little bit strapped for time today because, like I said, Halloween, everybody decided to show up tonight.
I hear you. Well, I suppose one subject with whatever time I have left would be the victim mentality. And I think that's probably one of the scariest topics we could truly touch on, because that's really the demise of the ego and the service to lower energies in life.
So are you saying that the demise of the ego creates the victim mentality?
No, when we eradicate the victim mentality, the ego falls with it. And ego is more so just, in my term, is operating out of lower desires or passions. And
kind of like more animalistic passions.
Well, more so like acting off of cravings or like out of emotion, as opposed to like logic or understanding the repercussions to our circumstances or decisions.
Right.
And so I suppose since I'm kind of blanking on how to convey the sort of concepts I trying to at the moment, I would like to just say that our circumstances and immediate environment and what we consider our life or world is all designed in order for us to grow. And so any resistance or any things we consider that we suffer from is really a deeper, more powerful message and intention and lesson that's trying to be brought forth. And that one of the really powerful inspirations or quotes that Penny had relayed was that the truth is that anything, no matter how awful it feels, that brings growth is good, and anything that causes stagnation, a divide, or a shutdown is bad, even if it feels good. And so that's what I was referring to. And another subject is that everything is quite paradoxical in our experience, and it can kind of be related as like the cosmic joke, because like how life is big and small at the same time, and how everything like is relevant but irrelevant. It's just based on perception.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Right. Before I run here, did you see the one that I did with Dr. Bartoli a couple days ago from Italy?
What? Which?
From Italy?
I don't know.
The Italian woman. You would remember. She had a heavy Italian accent.
Oh, I see. Was she the one with the camera was angled?
Yeah, down. Yeah.
Yes, I think I recall her.
Right. So it sounds like you're kind of echoing some of her thoughts as well.
Oh yeah, well, it's really just the universal principles or messages that are brought forth through the whole culmination of near-death experiencers, that there's one truth, there's not one religion, and that all of the religions, in my opinion, are just different facets of the one truth that is God.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
All
right, brother. You know where I'm at every Saturday night, so
Great.
maybe we'll see you back next week.
Cool. I appreciate you, giving the opportunity, and I apologize for not being more prepared, and hopefully can.
It's completely unnecessary.
Give a better effort next time. All right. I hope you have a good night, and appreciate all that you do. And it's really impacting the world, I believe.
Well, thank you. All right. You have a great weekend.
Appreciate it. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, I want to get everybody in, so I'm going to have to kind of shorten it up a little bit, even to maybe about 7 minutes. That's what I originally started with, was 7 minutes back when we first started doing this, and then I bumped it to like 10, and on, why isn't this not there? There it is. And tonight has been our busiest night ever for participants, which is so amazing. And so I want to give everybody a chance. I'm just going to have to try to, like I said, kind of cut it a little bit shorter. Ray, how are you? You made it.
What's going on, Jeff?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good over here on this side, my friend.
All right. Where are you from, and where are you at?
From South Carolina, currently in Maryland, getting my master's degree.
Oh, awesome. What are you getting in? What are you studying?
Community leadership.
Community leadership. Awesome. And you have a nice camera setup where everything blurs out in the background. That's cool.
Yeah. I just figured that out. I did the whole blur out situation, not
good.
Just because I have anything to hide, but I was just like, they don't want to see my boring room. But yeah. I'm like psyched to be talking to you. And
Well, thank you for joining me. I'm glad to have you. And what is going on? Or do you have any spooky stories for us?
Nothing spooky, unfortunately.
Well, that's okay.
I have 3 stories that I'd like to humbly put forth. And before I begin, I just want to echo what my good brother before me just said. I think that the work that you're doing, the work that other YouTube channels and other individuals that are raising awareness about the things that kind of challenge the societal and societal, institutional, religious paradigms. I really think that this is important work.
Well,
thank you for what you're doing. No, thank you for what you're doing. And shout out to your audience, to fellow seekers, brothers and sisters out here. Sending love to all of you. So I have 3 stories.
Well, before you start, I'm unfortunately having to try to trim everything down to get everybody in. So I'm just trying to, some people can have 3 stories and it would be 3 hours or,
I hear you. I'll keep it really quick then. Okay. So when I was really young, there's a scar. I don't know if you can see it on my forehead, probably not. But I got that when I was playing on the playground one time. And I recall I was running from these other boys. I was the one being chased. And I remember I'm running across the playground. All of a sudden, I see myself, it's like I zoom out and I see myself running, behind, and these 2 kids chasing me. And, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like 5, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I see myself. And it's like I'm observing from this 3rd person view, and then all of a sudden, boom, come back in. And right when I do that is when my head busts up against the side of this picnic table. And, as you can imagine, that did not go well. screaming bloody murder. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then I black out. And I always had that memory with me. It stuck with me for the longest time because I was like, what is that? I had no way to really integrate that or conceptualize what had happened. So I tried to reason and logic my way around it. And that's when I started finding out, oh, okay, well, there's this higher nature that we all have, and, you know, started understanding about like the 360-degree vision and like out of body experiences. So I was like, oh, wow, which I didn't really even get into until relatively recently. So that was able to give you some more context. The second story, my sister and I were talking, and she was telling me, and this one was really quick. She was telling me, you know, we were shooting shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here. We were like talking about, you know, spiritual stuff and pre-birth memories. I told her about Christian Sundberg, and his whole thing. And she was telling me, yeah, I had a memory like that. I remember seeing Mom when she was younger. And I was watching her, and I was with somebody, and they were saying, yeah, this is going to be your mom. And, you know, and having this understanding, like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing. You know, I'm supposed to come into this family in this lifetime. I was like, what? You didn't say anything to me? Like, I had no idea what was going on. So we both kind of had these experiences that were, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we didn't have any basis or, you know, idea about it because it kind of went against what we grew up learning about. But so that's story number 2. Story number 3, so my grandfather, when I was really young, he fell off a ladder and became a paraplegic, almost lost his life. And for the last 8 years of his life, he was, you know, in a wheelchair, and, you know, had to be taken care of and by my grandmother and a caretaker who, coincidentally, his name was also Ray. And yeah, he the last night of his life, he had pneumonia. He was in the hospital battling that. I was like 13, 14. I remember, you know, my mom and dad, hey, you know, you want to go see your grandfather? He's asking for you. And like my 13-year-old mind, I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'll see him the next day. Next day comes around, come to find out he passed away. So I carried this guilt with me for a long time because it felt like, you know, instead of just going and seeing him and potentially getting to say goodbye, I brushed that off and I never got that chance, you know, and I really carried that with me. So fast forward to 2020, it was like this, I just was just thinking about, you know, learning about all this stuff about NDEs, how our loved ones are always connected to us. I was just, you know, thinking, okay, well, you know, if this is true, then obviously he might know what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. So I just kind of just let out, and I remember I was in bed that night, and I was just saying, you know, hey, Papa, if you're hearing me, if you're listening to me, God, whatever, I just want to say, you know, I love you. If you're thinking of me, just send a sign, or if you're able to hear me. And yeah, and then all of a sudden, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't see any like bright lights, but I like this feeling of love, like this love energy, like this really beautiful feeling that I had seldom felt in my life. Just started bubbling up in my chest and was there for about 10, maybe 15 seconds in response to that. It hasn't happened before, hasn't happened since. But it felt very close to what, when I hear people talk about that indescribable love, it felt like a tenth of that, if that makes sense. Wow. So, you know, I interpret that as him saying, hey, kid, you're good. Like, it's all good. You're cool. I'm with you. Go out and do your thing. So, yeah, those are my stories. Told you they're really quick. But yeah.
Well, it sounds like to me he was contacting you, but I wanted to go back to the first story because I've had a few NDE guests, and right before something traumatic happened to them, like where they were going to sustain heavily body damage, like get hit by a car or whatever, just before it happened, they popped out of their body. So they never really experienced all that pain. And I wasn't really sure. Were you out of your body when your head made impact with the table, or did you get back in just before your head hit the
just before my head hit the table?
Oh, darn.
Just before. And I meditated on that experience not too long ago, and the knowing, the intuitive knowing that I got in that moment was that this was to serve as a reminder of like my higher nature, So that was just like, that hadn't even occurred to me all these years later, but it was like, oh, if you can remember that that moment of popping out of your body, that's going to stick with you, and you can maybe use that as a memory of like, hey, this is who you are. Like, you can do this. Like, you can pop out. You like, there's something more than what you've been told is going on in the world. So that's how I interpreted it.
It kind of reminds me of a story of a famous NFL quarterback. I cannot remember who it is, but he had some kind of description that he could just see down the field, almost like out of his body when he was playing, like in his body, like being, I think some people call it bilocation. So being cool. in his body and out of his body at the same time, and he could just somehow, maybe he would just kind of rise up and could see everything.
That's how it felt. I could see, like, I almost want to say it felt like there was somebody next to me, but I could see like the entirety of the playground, like everybody on it. But I could also see myself, so I was just very confused, and so.
All right, Ray. Well, thanks for coming and sharing with us. I appreciate you, and come back anytime. I'm here every Saturday.
Appreciate the work you're doing, Jeff. Take care of yourself, all right?
All right, take care. All right, next person. Let's keep rolling here. Jeanette Windward has been here for a long time. And let's see if we can get her in. And as I was saying, I'm sorry I'm going to have to cut things shorter, but I'm just way over time. And I want to give everybody a chance. And if I haven't mentioned it, in the description is the link to a Discord. I created a new one. So if you liked, there's two parts to it. I hear you. I just don't see you. Hello. You're halfway here.
Run.
Right. Where are we going?
So as I was.
Here we go. Hello.
Hello. All right. I like your costume. That's a cool hat.
Thank you. My brother built that, but
what is that? It's like a skull. Oh, it's like a doll's head.
A doll with nails in it. He wore an outfit to my daughter's 21st. We had a pea. It was a pea party, like not, anything starting with P.
Right.
I think he came as a punk.
As a punk. Well, you are in. Is it New Zealand or Australia?
New Zealand. Yeah.
So it's how. I don't think you guys really celebrate Halloween too much there, but maybe we're slowly growing.
Much.
We're growing on you.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's being sort of cancelled because of, the COVID thing.
Right. That's a bummer.
It's a bit awkward, but some are still doing it in different places. Like previous guy, I've had that intense love feeling experience with a Christ-like figure. But the story I'm going to bring is to do with like my brother. He passed away a year ago.
Oh.
But he gave me this. Now this is a green stone, but Maori call it punamu, and they have a bit of a tradition that it's a protective type of thing, and also it has to be gifted. You can't buy it for yourself. So back in my mid-30s, my kids were little, and I think they were with their father for the weekend, and my mum lived up the road, and he came down for a visit, and I said, let's go to the beach. So I had this little bomb, and it was one of those ones that have a tire and a cage underneath the car.
And that was a little what?
A little car, a bomb, I call it, because it was just, an old car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the spare tire thing was kept in a cage thing underneath the vehicle. And as we went to back down, this thing dropped and dug into the driveway, right? And so I was stuck. So my brother went and got a spade, dug that all out, got it back up. So we hoot to the beach. And so we're walking on the beach, and he's walking up above on a bit of a sand dune. I'm walking along the bottom. And I'm walking along. Next thing I hear the sound, it sounds like a train coming straight at me. I'm standing there trying to work out where the sound's coming from, you know, I'm like this. And as I turn, this black figure, smoky, you know, kind of a, the size of a small child. It even felt childlike, but it came running at me with its arms wide open, like a child would come running to someone that, you know, and it kind of hit me. And then I was like, what the hell was that? Sound's gone, everything. I look at my brother and I go, did you hear that? Did you see that? And he's like, what? Nothing. Okay, so thought that was very weird. And so we get back in the car, we go back home, and I realized my greenstone is gone. And I thought, oh no, I've lost it down the beach. The next day, I go out to the gateway where my car was parked, and here it was right next to the post. But the weird thing is we drive on the right side of the car, right? And so I got in on the right side of the car, and I have no idea. I never went to the left side of the car, how it got right by the post. But that whole house that I was living in at the time was spooky as hell. I had my kids saying, you know, names, something was screaming at them, they'd fall out of the top bunk. It had been abandoned, and at the time we were like desperate for a house, and it had actually had a story that there were two dogs locked into this house, and the neighbors had to smash them out. Don't know if they survived and how long they'd been locked in, but the people who were in there before abandoned the place, and it was just a wreck, and that's why we got it so cheap. But it was not a nice place. One of my sons would have nightmares every night at 11 o'clock, and he'd be sleepwalking. I ended up having to get a church come in and bless the place. But it was there where I had this amazing experience, because I'm a bit of an artist. So I was drawing this poster, and it's had that poem by Edgar Allan Poe, creatures crawl in the search of blood to terrify your neighborhood. I can't remember how it goes now. But I was drawing all these creatures around the side, and there was a gap, and I was trying to think of something because I was copying creatures, and I couldn't find one for this gap. And that's when my son was having these nightmares. And so one night, I ended up drawing this thing out of my imagination, and I had these big 3 claws for feet. And anyway, he came in with this nightmare saying this dragony thing was after him, and I jump in the bed. You know, next morning I woke up with two pains here and one in my back. And at that time I was going to a spiritual sort of a group, and this pain kept getting tighter and tighter. And I kept saying to these different ones who had different sort of gifts, you know, psychic, whatever, what is this? What is this? And then no one could pinpoint it. So it got so bad that this one night I actually was freaking out. You go back to your childhood and being brought up Christian, and I'm like, Jesus, help me, send someone to help me. I don't know what's going on. And boom, there was the figure, this light. It was just this figure of light at the foot of my bed. I'm wide awake. And as I'm looking, the light is so bright, you can't actually see the figure in its entirety. So I'd look through the rays and I could see an eye, a beautiful eye. And I'd move my eyes, I'd see a beard. Move my eyes, I could see a white garment and with a blue sash. And I sort of got the image, well, this seems like it must be Christ. And I'm lying there, you know, and this light starts to pour out, and I actually see hands reaching out through the light, and this light came over me. And then I actually felt like I was lifting out of my body. And then I had the sudden thought of my children. I'm a solo mum. Who's going to look after my kids?
Right. Don't
really want them to go back to their dad at the time. and then I was gently put back and the light faded. There was no actual sort of like verbal communication apart from, but this light, there's no words for the way it felt. It is the purest love, but the most euphoric feeling. I can't give it any justice, just like everyone else stumbles over this feeling. Yeah, so it was that.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah. Jeanette, I'm so sorry. I have to kind of keep things going because I'm running out of time. But
I was trying to go. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Jeff. It's cool. I'm just like nervous but it's so cool to hear everyone. Hey, and I just shout out to Dusan. He's a guy who contacted me through your podcast.
Oh, great.
Across the other side of the world somewhere from a previous one. So I'm just giving him a shout out. He's asleep right now because he's like half a day away from here. So thank you, Jeff.
All right. You take care. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's keep things moving. I'm going to go to Pilkington. And see if we can get Pilkington in the podcast here. He's halfway there, kind of, partly. So again, let's see. I have a new NDE to post tomorrow night that I'm planning on posting. And then on Monday, I'm planning on posting the video that I recorded with Dr. Eben Alexander. And there's 300 of you guys watching, so thank you. 303, so thank you guys so much. And then I've got some other, I was trying to talk earlier about some of the other guests I have scheduled this month. Now that I guess we're not in November yet, but I've got a dream analysis person, I think an expert. I've got Ask Angelics, which I think they're going to actually channel with me during the podcast. And I think they were saying I can ask any questions I want. I need to check back with them. And if so, now it's 305. Let's get it to 500. So that should be pretty cool. And Pilkington, I'm going to put you back into, I'm not kicking you out. I'm just putting you back in the waiting room because it seems like you're having trouble getting in. So I'm going to move on to Linda and see if I can get Linda in. So those are some of the ones that I have on my mind coming up in November. I can hear myself. Ask Angelics, which I think they're going to actually channel. Hello, Linda. And I think they were saying all right. All you have to do is go to YouTube, the YouTube video, and mute the video, not your general mic.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that should be pretty cool. And Pilkington, I'm going to put. There you go. I think you did it.
Okay, wait.
I think we're good.
Really? Oh, I don't see you. Let me see.
I see you.
Post attendee Zoom. Where are you? Okay, wait.
Do you see you?
No,
you
not
don't
yet.
See you either. Well, okay, you're here with us.
Here we go. I think. Okay. Yeah.
All right, great. Great, perfect. So where are you from, Linda?
I'm from Arkansas.
What part?
Little Rock.
Little Rock. All right. We have been following I don't know if you saw Typo earlier.
I tried to, but I think I was distracted at that point.
Well, we had been following her voyage, and she's thinking about moving to Arkansas, close to the Ozarks. I think, what did she? Claiborne County or something, she said. But
that is, yeah.
You may have a new neighbor.
Kind
of close.
For sure.
All right. Well, what kind of story do you got for us to share?
Okay. So my parents, my dad's gone now, but my parents lived in Brookhaven, Mississippi. My mother still lives there. And I went one weekend of course, I was in the guest bedroom. I brought my 2 dogs. They both had crates. And I was awoken in the middle of the night with something that felt like feathers tickling my nose. And you think, is that hair? Is there a bug? Is it the sheet? Whatever. No, I mean, none of that made sense, but it was like something was playing with me. And when I woke up in the morning, both dogs were out of their crates. They were so weirdly excited. And it was the type of crates that you use in, on an airline, the kind where you have to kind of squeeze the door to open it.
Wow.
So I do not know how they got out, but it was either that visit or the next visit that I was sleeping on my side, facing away from, one side of the bed. And I felt the side of the bed lower, as if somebody sat down on the side of the bed. So much so that I had to adjust my body, not to, have to lean toward the side that was depressed. And I did not want to turn around and look. But I was awake and I felt it, and it was bizarre. So
do you know who it was?
I cannot figure out any kind of personal connection.
Well,
but I think it has to do with the bed. My kids, I told that to one of my sons, and he said that he had that experience, but not really thought about it, like that the bed just kind of went down at some point.
Well, then how'd the dogs get out?
I don't know, but they were weirdly they're fox terriers, and they were super weirdly excited the next morning, like, woo, look what happened to us, So I don't know.
I think that some people will say that when people from the other side are trying to connect with you, you'll see butterflies, and another thing that you may see is feathers, and you didn't see a feather, but it sounded like you felt a feather.
Yes, it was like I felt a feather tickling my nose. It was like somebody playful was playing with me, and my sister feels like whatever it is connected to the furniture, and she inherited the furniture. And so she did like a smudging to dispel any spirits that were connected. But she woke up one night in that same room and that same furniture where there was a blue light out in the hallway, she thought, and she felt like it was angry with her. So, who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess my feeling about the depressed bed was that it was an older woman. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How long ago did this happen?
Oh, probably 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay, so you've had a long time to think about it, but you haven't figured it out yet.
Have not figured it out yet, no. And my mother in that same house, in that same bed one night, and this was probably 20 years ago, my mother does not believe in this kind of stuff, but she called me one morning and she said that she hadn't been able to sleep. And she got in that bed, like she was in bed with my dad, but she couldn't sleep. So she went to sleep in the guest bedroom. She got in bed and she felt like a child snuggled up next to her. And she told me the next day about that. But then after that, she just was like, oh, it must have been a dream. It must have been a dream. But it was real enough to her the next day to tell me about it. So.
Right. Yeah. It sounded like, yeah.
Yeah. So who knows?
It did something to her.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing. I really appreciate you, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Linda, you take care.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye-bye. Don't report. All right, so let's get the next person on. I'm gonna let's try guest. Guest. That's interesting. It's just like a generic name. It's Guest. I like that. Kind of reminds me of the movie Gladiator. Have you seen Gladiator, where he finally shows up and wins, and gosh, I can't remember the other character's name, but he said, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name is Gladiator." Right. All right, so it sounds like we've got volume.
Hello?
Hello, I hear you.
You hear Penny?
Hey, it's Penny. Wow, you look like that's a great costume. It looks like
Thank
Dia
you.
de los Muertos. We
Yeah,
call
that's
it
what it is.
here.
That's
That's
what it is.
awesome. It looks amazing.
Can you see the
The skull?
hats? Yeah, the
Yeah.
hats, and then there's spider web and
Yeah.
spiders. So it's half Day of the Dead and half Halloween.
I don't have a prize, but you are the winner so far. The best costume of the night.
Well, that's the first time I've ever won anything in my life.
So you are the winner.
Oh, what a great evening it's been. I've been sitting here on the floor, freezing cold. The computer's been playing up, so I didn't want to leave it. Yeah, and I was going to talk about my mum.
Yes.
But I'm not going to anymore.
You're not?
No, because it's too long.
Oh.
So what I will say is, as I've been sitting here, I thought more people would dress up, so I dressed up.
No, you're great. I was wearing my mask for a while, and it's uncomfortable. And,
I know.
And if you look at the chat, though, people are saying awesome costume. So the chat's loving your costume.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. People are loving it. And
I did have a white face, but
and by the way, we're going to show Mika's costume here.
Oh,
she's
love
got
her
little costume
so
on.
Oh.
And here she is with us today. She's making a guest appearance.
Oh, I love her. What a stroke.
She actually kind of matched. Well, is yours? Well, yours is black and red, where hers is black and orange. I was going to say she almost kind of matches. I got my head. There we go.
Oh.
Before you get started, what did you do to put those mirror-like things around your mouth? What is that?
Can you see them?
Yeah.
They're actually jewels, and you buy this eyelash. Oh, I've got. Can you see the eyelash? I'm full effect now. The eyelashes and everything.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It ruins it having to put the glasses on, but I can't see a thing. It's eyelash glue.
Eyelash glue.
Yeah, so the glue comes with the eyelashes, and they're my sisters actually. And then you put them on the back of bees, and you stick them on.
Does it hold for a long time?
Well, I've had them on about 5 hours because it's my birthday on Monday, so we had a little bit of a Halloween party here tonight.
Oh, cool.
So I put them on for that and kept them on for this. So yeah, about 5 hours so far, but they still feel quite.
It's working.
Still feel quite sticky. Yeah.
Do people really celebrate or know much about Dia de los Muertos in England?
No. I only came up on it by accident because I was thinking, what can I wear to dress up? And I was looking on Pinterest and things like that. And I saw this and I thought, oh, it looks beautiful. It's a sweet skull face, they call it.
Yeah.
All white. And I did put all white on, but it was too patchy, so I took it all off again. So it's just like.
Yeah, it's probably heavy on the makeup.
Yeah, it is. But also I thought, because I was going to talk about my mother, and it's supposed to be celebrating the life of people who've passed, isn't it?
Exactly.
I built my little altar. And that's her order of service from her funeral. And I was going to talk about her, but I'm not going to. But as I've been sitting here listening to your guests, a little horrible experience did come to me that happened when I first became a Christian 23 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally on the day. And I prayed the prayer at about 7 o'clock at night. We used to have evening services sometimes. And I got home, and in those days I slept really well. I just put my head on the pillow and I was asleep. But at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I suddenly, half awake, and I felt this terrible presence, and I felt my arms being moved right up like this. So I ended up like this in the shape of a cross, totally paralyzed. All I can say is a demonic, dark presence over me and totally paralyzed.
A dark presence?
It was very black, very, very black, and just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I was just completely paralyzed. And all I could think of to do was say, Jesus, Jesus. I didn't know anything about this sort of stuff. I'd only just become a Christian. I didn't know anything about the Bible. I just had this feeling that that's what I believed. And anyway, after a few minutes of saying that, it went away. And I told my vicar the next day, and she said that's because the devil doesn't like anybody becoming a Christian. It's taking them away from him. And so they do this sort of thing. And that's it, really. That's just my little horrible story. But it didn't happen again.
Interesting. Did you? So this happened.
Are my teeth falling off?
No, you're good. This happened. This happened right after you became a Christian.
Yeah, on the same night. So I
on the
became
same
a
night.
Christian
Wow.
at about 7 o'clock, and this happened at about 2 in the morning. Once I got paralyzed, but the thing was, my arms coming up on their own in the shape of a cross. So my body was like that, and my arms were like this. It was just so weird. And so when it all relaxed and everything after we praying, Jesus, I turned my light on because I was so scared.
It's
and I looked at the clock, and it was about 2 o'clock.
It kind of reminds me of The Exorcist, like you had a mini exorcist attack.
Oh, don't say that.
A demon attack.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. Yeah.
You know? Wow.
Yeah.
What made you decide to become Christian that night?
It's a really funny story. I'm going to come on one day and tell you about coincidences, because this is quite a funny story about how I became a Christian. But I'll just say one little tiny thing, that I'd always felt like something was missing in my life. I never felt like I belonged on this world. I never felt like I belonged in my family, at school, anywhere. And this funny thing happened, which I'll tell you another time. And so I went to church, and I went for about 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, I just got this feeling of heat as we were singing. I don't know what you call it. It's not a hymn, but it's a modern song, modern church song like they have these days. And I just got this feeling of heat just come all the way through me. And when my vicar said, "Now stand up, anybody who wants to pray the prayer," I just stood up. Didn't think about it. I just stood up and I just did it. I felt great. I felt really good. I went home really happy.
That's good.
Yeah. But it didn't, being a Christian didn't tell you any about all the stuff that we learn now these days on shows like yours and other shows about NDEs and consciousness and white light and all that. I really just really learned about that. But no, at the time it felt really good. I would say I'm a Christian now, but I'm more of a spiritualist now.
I'm sorry, can you say the last thing? I had trouble hearing.
Oh, I just said I'm still a Christian, but I'm more of a spiritual person now.
Well, yeah. You're a spiritual Christian.
Yeah.
All right, Penny. Well, I am so sorry. I have to
No, that's fine.
I have to keep the night going. I'm way
Yep.
over time, but I really want to give everybody a chance. I'm just trying to get everybody in real quickly.
I know, that's fine.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, what do I do? Do I have to do something?
Nope. Bye.
No.
I'll do it. Just like that. Don't report. Okay. These two people have been on all night. They've been unable to join all night. Kristen has been here the entire 3 hours and not been able to join me. And we'll give her one last chance before I have to call it a night. But look, guys, I'm here every Saturday. You know where I am. You've seen some new people tonight, and you should feel comfortable that you can join me next Saturday night. She's gone now. Let's try Pilkington again. Pilkington. We'll see if Pilkington can make it. And maybe Pilkington will. asked to start video. And we'll see. We'll see how that's going, if Pilkington can make it or not. So again, I have created a brand new Discord. So if you want to meet like people and make friends and have people to chat with, you can go to the Discord. The link is in the description. And you can either just, a lot of people like just chit chat back and forth, kind of like you have the chat here, but it's a little bit Facebookish, where you can post videos and pictures and memes. And then there's actually like an old school, I call it old school, but it's like you can actually then go to a voice chat room and chat within there if you want to talk to each other. And I think it's almost like Zoom too, where you can even turn on video and chat with each other. So if you want to meet like-minded people and you guys want to hang out together, it's there for you. And I'm going to have to probably move on, Pilkington, and try my one last person here, which I believe we have a surprise appearance from Hue Y9. Well, he's gone too. Hue Y9 something something. So again, as I was saying earlier, I think I'm going to be having the Ask Angelics on, which if you wanted to, I don't know if he's channeling an angel. I think he's channeling an angel. I'm not sure if it's an archangel or one of the other angels. But if you ever had questions that you wanted to ask an angel, I need to make a community post, just like I did for Dr. Alexander. And then we will, and then you guys want to submit questions. I think that would be pretty cool. I don't want to do that. I want to admit. And see if we can get Hue Y9 Prime 2019. Huawei. And I figured it was you. Huawei. That's your oh, there's your costume. All right.
I better put my Halloween on.
It's Cyclops. Hello, John. How are you, my friend?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Loud and clear.
Good. You scared me off with your devil mask.
Yeah.
I saw the mask at the beginning and I thought,
it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. A lot of people didn't like. I posted it in the community thing, and people were not happy with this mask.
Well, we got to learn to face our shadow. We got to learn to face our shadow. I mean,
right.
It's interesting. I mean, what's the topic tonight on?
It's Halloween, so I've tried to keep it. I was Halloween, so I said if anything goes, but I was trying to gear it towards more spooky and scary stories.
Spooky and scary stories.
You got anything spooky and scary that happened to you?
Well, yes and no. I mean, most people, when we talk about scary stuff, usually it's things we don't understand. And when you're talking about especially consciousness, and I'm going to dig really deep here, because most people don't understand how their mind works, Jeff. I mean, when you start to, after my NDE, I did a lot of inner work on myself, because having an NDE, it takes you, depending on, and you got to, the big danger is your ego comes out when you have an NDE. The real danger after an NDE is that somehow, people become extra special. We're not extra special, trust me. I mean, I'm not special. But what I did realize is that I tapped into areas of the mind I never thought possible. You know, obviously, when you have a profound experience, you are traveling, what I perceive to be traveling back through aspects of your consciousness that everybody has. And in some of those areas that we don't like to look at or we avoid constantly is our dark side, our shadow, as Carl Jung says. And this shadow, by avoiding it, you can actually inadvertently empower it. How does that work?
Makes sense.
Well, how does that work? I mean, people say, well, you know, how can you empower something that you avoid? Well, if you have a fear of something, fear as an energy form is very strong, and it actually builds up in the collective as an archetype. It can build up in your individual archetype. And a lot of people who cross over and see hell realms, and I did see the hell realms, but they're not depicted, they're not on the other side per se. That's what I experienced, yeah? So when I came back, I was guided through the hell realms down here on Earth, and I saw some horrific stuff, really horrific stuff. Vibrationally, we all know what's going on out there once people dig down those little dark tunnels, that rabbit hole, you know, and you're getting into areas of occult. And once you start delving with the occult, you have to have a formidable sense of protection, a sense of your true inner light being, if that makes sense. You've got to know that your light is stronger than the darkness, but we all have a shadow, and the scariest, darkest form that I encompassed was my own dark shadow.
Let me ask you
potential.
Let me interrupt you here for a second, because you were talking about these lower vibrational realms, and that can lead you into these hellish experiences. I kind of believe that drugs and or alcoholism lowers our vibration and can put us into those realms. So it's a dangerous game to be playing with those.
Well, I think the original word alcohol came from al-Ghul or el-Ghul, which was an Islamic word. Native Americans used to say in their way of saying it, it sounded very simplistic, but it's not. And they said there was an evil spirit in that, an evil spirit in that white man's drink, you know, an evil fire spirit, because people would change. And you're right. What happens is with especially alcohol is, you know, every Friday night you'll get a whole bunch of guys going and getting drunk, and then of course it'll end up in a big punch up. But what they don't realize is that pubs and places where alcohol is served, what happens is that energy builds up. That builds up in the archetype. Well, some would say the lower astral, and the astral's not just on one level. And so what happens is you might just go and have one drink, and you might be a really nice person, and all of a sudden you can flip. And what happens is it's kind of like a form of possession. And I use that word very loosely. And possession, you can actually become something that you are not normally. Like you might pick up someone else's vibration. And especially as a light worker or a light being, someone who's working with healing or Reiki, or even Christian ministers, they get in and you know, they have to do exorcisms, whether or not, you know, each and every exorcism has to be, you know, given its own merit, if that makes sense. You've really got to step back and say, well, is this just my imagination, or is there really a spirit latched onto that person? And you've got to be very careful, very, very careful about, you know, trying to remove negative spirits if one hasn't had the experience. I had one experience where I did a healing on a girl, because I used to do a lot of healings, intuitive healings. And this was one of the gifts I came back with. I don't talk about it much because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, because every time I do talk, you know, a lot of stuff, experiences come out and people go, oh, you know, experiences, you know, but I'm not the experiences, okay? We are not the experiences, but we are here to help others. Ultimately, that's why we come back. And this one particular girl, I'd seen all of her past lives, but she had this, I got to be very careful what I say here, but she couldn't fall pregnant, right? And what I'd found out is that after doing the healing on her, I was trying to remove something and I couldn't find out what it was. Anyway, that weekend I found myself standing on a cliff 300 meters above the water easily, and the weather was wild. The swell was formidable. It was pounding in 2-3 meter swell. It was raining, windy, and I'm standing on that cliff crying like a baby, and I'm thinking, what is going on? As I got right to the edge of the cliff, which is really dangerous, and I never do this, I never do that, I thought, what's going on? The wind stopped. It just stopped for like 15 seconds. It was like, you know, people would say, wow, that's unbelievable. But no, there was like a gap between the gusts, maybe, I don't know. And I thought, and I was crying, I thought, what the hell am I doing? I'm standing on the edge of this cliff crying. Anyway, so I backed off. I was strong enough to objectify what had happened. And I stepped back. Anyway, 2 weeks later, I had a talk with her. And I'd found out that her first boyfriend had committed suicide by throwing himself off a cliff. He'd come into me. His soul was still attached to her. He was so angry at what had happened, at his death. He remained earthbound, but he'd attached onto her. Now, she couldn't have children because he'd prevented her from having it karmically. I don't know whether it was a karmic, a deeper karmic envelope there. But he'd attached onto her, and because I was open and doing the work, boom, he'd come into me. So I had to cleanse him out of my system through various practices, right? So my personality changed. Here I am standing on a cliff, you know, ready to jump. I'm thinking, what the hell was that? And so people, you have to be really, so people say that's a negative spirit. No. He wasn't a negative spirit at all. And so I needed to step back and meditate on it and really go into my really deep subconscious. I had to go back through and do what you call a timeline it. So I timelined the healing. I went back to the cliff. I went to everything. And I'd found out that, you know, that he was basically a trapped soul. And so then I had to perform various practices to move him on into the light, which you can do, you know, in the right way, with prayers and intercessionary prayers, asking for whether you want to call archangels or spirits. So a lot of these dark entities sometimes are misidentified. They're lost souls, and some of them can be very angry, Jeff.
Right, yeah. We were talking about that earlier. I need to ask you this before I go real quick, and it's a question from the audience. They want to know if you believe in Jesus.
Yes, I do, but not in the same format that is being taught currently. I know exactly who he is. Okay. Now, from my experience, when I crossed over, I'll admit I did not see him specifically, because the danger of anthropomorphizing Jesus is really dangerous, because that's what causes infighting. From what I have learned is that there's only two subtle bodies. Try to remember this. There's only two subtle bodies out of the 7 that we have, from the physical all the way to the Godhead. There's only 2 that anthropomorphize. One is the etheric double. That's often the one we see as ghosts. Grandparents come back, parents, someone deceased. They come back and they show you their form as they were in this incarnation. The other one is in the astral plane, where you'll connect to multiple astral entities. And so there's a connection between the etheric and the astral plane, right? But you can go deeper than that, much, much deeper. So in the ancient texts, which have since been removed, I mean, I found another scripture just recently where it referred to the heavens as plural. Now, in my Bible, it has changed that particular passage. My Bible's 40 years old, and it says that Jesus passed through the heavens, plural. He passed through the heavens. Not that he went to heaven, but he passed through them.
Interesting.
And heavens was plural, right?
Yeah.
So when I read the Islamic texts, they talked about 7 heavens. Enoch went to the 7th heaven. So if Enoch went to the 7th heaven and Jesus went to the 7th heaven, there's possibly a spiritual bridge between those two stories. Yeah. So yes, so manifestations of Jesus can take 7 forms. This is what I'm learning. It can be a physical form, it can be an etheric form, it can be an astral form, it can be a logoic form. The logoic is like formidable. It's like the logoic body is the God form. And that's usually not personified as a singular anthropomorphic image. Now, when I applied this through very ancient metaphysics texts, and I'll try to simplify this because they are quite complex. When they talk about the second coming, it's not really the second coming, it's the 7th coming. And the 7th coming is a wrathful event. They talk about the day of the Lord, quote unquote, as a wrathful event, and not a happy clappy guy with a beard in a toga and sandals and blue eyes or whatever, because everyone's infighting about whether he was Semitic, whether he was this, whether he was that. I'm not interested in that part. That's historical, and historical revisionism takes place all the time. I'm interested in the spiritual manifestations of Christ and how they're going to manifest. And from what I've seen, and in my humble opinion, I am not saying I'm right, but I would dictate that the second coming is already starting as a logoic manifestation on earth, which will collectively, everybody will see it, because, and it says, scripture says that every eye shall see him, every single eye. How's that possible? How's that possible unless it's a massive event? What's the massive event they're talking? Well, it's a wrathful event, in my humble opinion, because multiple scriptures say that he's coming in a wrathful form, So this is very similar to other deities in Hinduism and Buddhism. They have wrathful deities. Mahakala deity in Buddhism, this great big, this great big violent aspect, but they say it has compassion in the center of his eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, actually.
Well, so you can have sorry, Jeff, but you can have an individual manifestation of Christ working through us in the non-wrathful way, like love, compassion, helping the little old lady across the road, picking up, someone healing. The definition of Christ as an energy form, as Holy Spirit, because Christ is meant to be Holy Spirit now, right? Because he died and he's gone. He's with Holy Spirit. And the scriptures do say that he said, I will send a helper. I will send a helper, right? So until he comes again in the second coming. Very deep text. These are very deep texts and take a long time to break down. And most people, even a lot of ministers that I've spoken to, don't understand the seven manifestations.
Right, yeah. Let me get another question in from the audience. Pink Light wants to know, how do you cleanse?
Well, me personally, I've got multiple methods. You can physically shower, get in the shower and wash down, But whilst you're having a shower, because you've got to wash your hair, hair is an antenna and it picks up a lot of negative energy too, by the way, negative and positive. So you've got to be really mindful. Hair is made of silica, and silica is a transceiver. So I can wash my hair. If you've had a really bad day, you'll notice intuitively a lot of women will wear their hair in a bun when they go to work, or they put the hair up. When they come, home, then they'll let their hair, what's the old saying? You let your hair down.
Right.
You see? So these little things are sprinkled throughout our vernacular. We say it all the time. Another way is just doing internal visualizations. I do an elemental one where I sit. It's very similar to like a vipassana in Buddhism, where you go inside and you watch and you go up and down your body very slowly. And I look for attacks or blocks or jabs I'm very sensitive. I feel if someone's spoken about me, I get it in the left ear straight away. I go, whoops, someone said something negative, and I just trace it. I trace that thought. It's not hard once you get experienced at it. And so then I'll pray for that person and say, look, piss off and I'll squeeze your testicles, you big piece of. No, I don't say that at all. But I'll just say, you know, like to spirit, because I've got my own guide, you know, and people say, well, you know, do you use the name Jesus? Now, here's another one. And I want people who are Christians to go and check this out. In Revelation 2 and 3, it mentions that we get a new name that's only known to you, right? This is part of the connection, the latter, what I call this later phase of waking up to the Holy Spirit, that we get a new name. Very important.
Have
I
you
still
got
believe in
one?
Jesus. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. But you never declare it. You don't tell anyone what that name is because it's between you and God, you see. It's special. It's like a pearl. It's a pearl. So it's in the Bible. It's in there. It's just a matter of whether people teach this. Often they don't because they don't know about it. But it says, I will give you some manna from heaven, right? And it'll have a new name written on it. Well, manna is spiritual manna. This is what Moses had when he was in the wilderness. And this manna would come down and they're all grumbling. And so he prayed, and then manna and quail fell, and they all stuffed themselves with birds and with the quail and the manna. And a lot of them died because they suffered from gluttony during the difficult times. So manna is kind of like spiritual food. It's like spiritual rain. And I know intuitively that that rain is drying up. And this takes us into another teaching called the former rain and the latter rain, which the former rain is kind of like grace during a time of Pentecost, which I believe hit all of humanity. But then there's a latter rain, and a lot of people may not fully understand these teachings because they are quite deep. But this former rain, latter rain is the manna, and the manna, delivered in that manna, you get individualized spiritual teachings because you're not on baby's milk anymore. When you get on this path for 10, 20, 30 years, and you really work inwardly on yourself, you start to get more and more and more teachings directly from spirit. You don't need any intercessionary ministers. Sometimes you do. If you want to clarify a point, you get confused about something, that's okay. But, you know, I never take that away from anyone. But a lot of people aren't ready to go looking and go on that lone journey by themselves.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. All right, John, I'm going to have to end it because I'm way, way over time, but I hope you come back next Saturday. Okay. You came late for you today. Either that or you just didn't get in. Maybe you were there the whole time. I didn't know.
Oh, I had a female angel tap me on the shoulder.
Ah.
Your wife.
Oh, she died.
Yeah, no, it was nothing mystical. I just got this message. Did I want to come on or something? So I thought, I was going to not go because I've been painting. I've been working on a couple of paintings in the background there. So, yeah.
Well, before
I
we
work
go,
7 days a week.
Me too. And before we go, check out John's book, God's Mountain, if you want to know more about his experience.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure to be asked on board, and you don't have to believe everything I say, people. I mean, you got to go and find out for yourself. Never leave your own teachings if you don't feel comfortable with them. Stay with your Jesus, stay with your Buddha, stay with Islam, stay with Wakantanka. You just follow your heart. It's all about love.
Yeah, that's great.
Cheers, Jeff.
All right, brother. You guys take it easy, and for everybody else, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'll be here next Saturday night. You know where I am. So if you didn't get to share tonight, please come back next time. And that's it. Have a great night, everybody. Cheers.